time for us versus them.
Panogitsa moru purita nonda kantai mantunat nyagitoru iluga.
GMH Administrator Lillian.
Para y gloria abibai islasen para.
University of Guam Dean of Nursing Margaret.
Para y gloria abibai islasen para.
There is light at the end of the tunnel.
Help is on the way from a marine medical.
Langit na bendisyon Kontray peligro na fansafuham Dus protehis langwang
Out in the public, where all are more exposed.
Peligro na fansafuham
585 have tested positive.
Protehis langwang
Now is not the time for us versus them.
Panogitsa moru purita nonda.
Hey, good morning, Guam. 6:21 on this rainy P-Core 2 Monday. Happy Mother's Day, Bree.
Thank you.
Hey, and happy Mother's Day to all of our viewers in American states. From Guam, where your Mother's Day begins. Happy Mother's Day to my mom out in Kansas.
And happy Mother's Day to my mom in Las Vegas and my other mom in San Diego.
There you go. So happy Mother's Day on you guys, and thanks so much for joining us at 6:21. One of my friends was, hey, what time's your show start? You know, one thing you learn when you get older, take your time. Do it right. All right. Good morning. It's Containing COVID, the KUAM News takeover of Guam's favorite I-94. We're KUAM FM, Agotni Guam, 93.9 on your FM dial. And it is now P-Core 2, early, that was weird. The declaration was like May 11th, then it was May 10th, and then it was
May 9th.
Mother's Day.
Yeah.
Or something that was a crazy little back and forth. But here we are. Here we are in P-Core 2. How's the air out there? Because you guys are just gunning it yesterday. Man, so much for baby steps. At least that's my report from the south. Beaches, gatherings, definitely more than 10 people. Definitely can't blame you guys. It's a very inconsistent message with the government of Guam about how to handle this. But, hey, we're here. It's happening right now. Good morning. It's Monday, yes. A little bit wet out there. Palaxi the Maxi. As always, the show is proudly brought to you by Cabo Enterprises, Ambrose Inc., and IT&E, as well as Coast 360 and the Bank of Guam at 622. Good morning, Sabrina.
Good morning.
I want to kind of chat with you a little bit before we get in, before we clock in. So how was your Mother's Day?
It was good, it just kind of like another day for me,
Right, yeah.
Got up, made myself something to eat.
I heard you tried to make pancakes this morning.
I did. I have never been able to make pancakes.
Yeah.
And I totally suck at it, and I burned everything. But, it's not bad burned.
It's not, pancakes, it's almost like pizza. It's good,
Yeah.
even when it's not good.
I still ate it,
Yeah.
So.
Let me give you a little pancake hack before we start the show,
Okay.
because I make pancakes all the time.
Okay.
You want to do a lower heat,
Mm-hmm.
put your pan on that burner, let it get a little hot, let it warm up. Then you just have to accept that the first pancake that's a casualty.
Yeah, my friend Chrissy from Shut Up and Fish, she actually messaged me, and she's like, girl, it's so easy, just turn down the heat. I was like, oh, man.
They're pancake shaming you. Yeah, you don't want to do it on high heat, because when we put it down, the pancake, the bottom's going to get burnt before the inside is cooked. Yeah, so I'd like
Good to know.
put a little butter in there just to kind of grease it up a little bit. You want to use a nonstick pan. You pour your batter down. When you start to get the bubbles on the top, that's when you flip it. Don't mess with it until you start to see the bubbles coming up on the top side.
I did. I saw the bubbles, and then when I flipped it, it was like burnt. It's like, this doesn't seem right. So I tried it again.
You don't want to wait until the bubbles are boiling. All right. Hey, you're welcome.
Thank you. I'm going to try it next time.
Yeah, so you take them out, then I always put a little butter on each one as it comes out. And anyway, now I want pancakes. 6:24. As we always do, let's start the show with a dive into the day's COVID-19 headlines from the KUAM News team with the very latest. Good morning, Sabrina Salas-Mantanani.
Hafaday, and good morning, everyone. The number of confirmed COVID cases for Guam remains at 151, 5 deaths, and 124 recoveries. On Saturday, 17 people were tested, 0 returned positive. Public Health's lab was closed on Sunday, so no tests were run. Although on Sunday, Guam went into Pandemic Condition of Readiness 2, or PCOR 2, all social gatherings are still limited to 10 people. All Gov Guam beaches remain closed except for individual use. Businesses are no longer restricted to selling only essential items, and Gov Guam remains operating, but in a limited capacity. Island residents are urged to continue to practice safety precautions, such as maintaining social distancing of 6 feet, wearing a face mask, practice good hygiene, washing your hands, and of course using hand sanitizers. Practice routine cleaning and disinfecting of frequently touched surfaces, and stay home if you are sick. The Guam Department of Labor has received approval of its initial increment of money in the amount of $276 million toward the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program and the Federal Pandemic Unemployment Compensation Program. The U.S. Department of Labor intends to provide the federal PUA and FPUC funds to Guam in increments, with the initial increment to be received this week. As funding is expended, the federal government will provide additional increments to ensure benefits can be paid. The PUA program provides up to $346 to qualified individuals through the end of December, and the FPUC program provides an additional $600 to those that qualify for PUA through the end of July. Benefits may be retroactive till the end of January. Depending on the circumstances of each individual, DOL will release additional details shortly. Guam DOL, in the meantime, continues to finalize its online application portal to promote social distancing in addition to telephone and appointment-based options. An entire physical operation and call center will be open for the submission, adjudication, and processing of applications and to answer questions about this new to Guam program. Employers and businesses are urged to register on hireguam.com as soon as possible. Once verified, employers can input data on employees affected by COVID-19. And while thousands have been left unemployed, displaced, or furloughed as a result of the COVID crisis, the governor hired a deputy director at the Department of Integrated Service for Individuals with Disabilities who's getting paid $82,000 annually. Adriana Cotero asked the governor about the hiring during her press conference on Friday.
So how do you justify filling this non-essential political hire position, or if you could just explain it, especially while thousands in the private sector have been either laid off, furloughed, or had their hours cut?
So my recollection is we hired the deputy of DISIT before the COVID crisis. We hired the deputy director of DISIT because we needed to have that position. We needed to have that position to provide the services for individuals with disabilities. We needed to make sure that we have the necessary operations to provide for our individuals with disabilities. We wanted to make sure that individuals with disabilities are given the vocational training so that they can be self-sufficient and so that they can provide for their own self-reliance and self-sustenance. So my understanding was this position has been filled before even the COVID virus. So I don't know what document you're looking at, that it was just recently hired, because I have my recollection that this individual, I know because I interviewed this individual since last year. And I think I'm not too sure whether we hired this individual in December or January, but it was definitely before March 14th.
Well, the document I'm looking at, it says effective date was April 13th. And this is a FOIA request from the Department of Administration.
So I don't know what document you're looking at. I don't know, are you looking at the GG1? Are you looking at the personnel action document?
No, as I said, our FOIA request that we had put in.
So I
that's what I'm looking
I
at.
need to know what document you're
It's a
referring
personnel
to.
action.
Yeah, so my recollection is it was hired, the individual was hired before then.
Okay. Okay, well then for my next question,
It may be a processing thing, you know, I don't know, but I do know that we made the decision to hire the person because I was involved with Phyllis in hiring that individual. So it may be a process thing. I'm not sure.
Okay, to clarify, you
Adriana.
said that you did the interview a year ago and that this person was not just hired last week.
No, it was not hired last week. It was hired before that process date.
Learned that Perez resigned on April 10th from the Guam Department of Education, where she worked at Ukadu High School as a special education transition coordinator. KUAM, in the meantime, has confirmed that there are more directors and deputy directors who are pulling shifts at the government's quarantine facility at the PAC Star. Guam EPA Administrator Walter Leon Guerrero, Department of Labor Deputy Director Gerard Tovis, DLM Director Joseph Bora, Public Works Director Jess Garcia, Bureau of Statistics and Plans Deputy Matt Santos, GIAA Deputy Executive Manager John Kanata. As reported, also assigned there are Elijah Casil of the Hagåtña Restoration and Redevelopment Authority, Guam Developmental Disabilities Council Director Jermaine Alerta, DISIT Director Phyllis Leon Guerrero, DYA Director Melanie Brennan and her Deputy Crescinda Uggan, Parks and Rec's Deputy Director Victor Villagomez, CLTC Administrator Jack Hattig, and Department of Agriculture Deputy Director Adrian Cruz. While they are on rotation, manning the facility 24/7 and staying at the hotel are Guam Energy Office Director Rebecca Respicio and Guam Housing Corporation President Alice Tyron. All of these directors and other GovGuam staffers will be paid 15% differential pay under the governor's COVID-19 response pay policy. Their responsibilities include keeping records, delivering meals, and handling all needs of the quarantined passengers. As the Guam Federation of Teachers prepares to file a lawsuit against the governor related to the double pay issue, the GFT is inviting all essential employees and COVID heroes seeking to be paid properly for the work they performed during the pandemic to call them starting today at 735-4390 if they would like more information and to serve as plaintiffs in the upcoming litigation. As reported, the Leon Guerrero Tenorio administration had said it will not pay double pay to essential workers because the government cannot afford it. The governor, during a press conference, was asked for a reaction to the GFT's pending litigation.
Our position is that, first of all, the people that are working are already getting differential pay. So if I was going to say we need to compensate our people for the risk that they are incurring as a result of the COVID and they're out there in the community, we have this differential pay to help with that compensation. Additionally, the double pay, as I understand it, really goes into play if the people that are at home are on administrative leave, but they are not on administrative leave. They are on regular work because we have to make sure that if we need them and we give them a 2-hour pre-warning of coming to work, that they come to work. If they are on administrative leave, we cannot really interfere with that administrative leave. So double pay and administrative leave sort of kind of go hand in hand. I am not supportive of the double pay because we already have the differential pay that we are giving to compensate for these individuals. And most especially, Kevin, double pay, I cannot afford it. I cannot afford to pay double pay and differential. So it's more a issue of fiscal responsibility. I think it's also an issue of what is it that we can afford. And frankly, I cannot afford double pay, again, with the differential pay.
If you were to pay double pay, it would total about $36 million, and if forced to pay that out, it could lead to furloughs. It marked the first time Public Health Director Linda Mpingo Dunorsi spoke in public about allegations that her digital signature may have been used on a document related to the procurement of the Pacific Star as a quarantine isolation facility. Here's a clip from an oversight hearing held at the Guam legislature.
Do you have any role in the procurement of quarantine facilities?
I don't. I know my power is here that is possible, but I have not done any procurement with the with those. No.
All right, and then if we could just dispose of this also, the is your signature required on contracts for the quarantine facilities?
As far as I know, the only thing that I sign, I want to say that I have not done any signatures in any of the contract facilities, no. But is my signature required according to the law? From what I'm reading, I guess the power relies on that part, but I'm not involved in it.
All right. Was your signature used without your consent on one of these procurement documents for quarantine facilities?
It was not a procurement document from what I know. It was from what I was looking at after I went to examine. It was for the letter for non-congregate shelters. And that is for isolation and quarantine facilities. So it's just a letter that had to be done so that we can bring that letter, so that we can get it up to Homeland Security, so that they can do the letter that is required by a public health entity, such as myself.
So are you satisfied that your authority is not being breached by unauthorized use of your signature?
My authority is just what I told you. The letter that was presented was for non-congregate shelters. And that was all in accordance to the citation of whatever law that was.
So are you saying you relinquished that public health authority, or you're not the person dealing with the facility leases?
I'm not the person that deals with the facility leases in this particular COVID-19.
Just going back to that contract again, I just want to be specifically clear in my mind. Director, did you authorize anyone in the governor's legal office to use your signature on March 18 designation letters to the hotels, please?
At the time, usually when I have my electronic signature, it is they call me, and so when they call me, they will ask what information needs to be released, and so when they did that, for that, the one they were talking about was the letters for the congregate shelter. It was just a letter that says the use of the properties, right, for the isolation and quarantine. At the time I got the call, I don't recall the call. However, as I mentioned earlier, it was a time where I don't recall the call, and that's the truth that I want to share.
Senators read Guam law giving DeNorsey, who is Guam's public health authority, special powers when a public health emergency is declared. Those special powers include access to control of facilities and properties, use of healthcare facilities, control of materials, roads, and public areas. As public health authority, she also has special powers to not only quarantine and isolate individuals, but also to establish and maintain those facilities, as well as procurement. Beginning today, the Northern Court Satellite in Dededo will expand its services for certain businesses, specifically for people who may not have internet access or can't conduct business-related transactions online. Starting today, you will be able to conduct necessary transactions in person at the Northern Court Satellite from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. That is Monday through Friday. Those transactions include payment of traffic citations, payment of case-related obligations, including bail, restitution, and fines and fees, and requests for traffic and court clearances. Today is also the first day to file candidate packets for the primary election at the Guam Election Commission. The positions up for election are mayor, vice mayor, senator, delegate to the U.S. House of Representatives, and public auditor. You can file anytime between 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. Monday through Friday until Tuesday, June 30th. GEC asks, however, that you stay home if you're sick. Social distancing will be enforced. All individuals must wear face masks that adhere to CDC guidelines. A 67-year-old man or Guam resident who traveled from Guam to Saipan on Saturday tested positive for COVID-19. According to a press release from the CNMI office of the governor, the individual was identified through the Saipan's airport surveillance process. The 67-year-old man was screened and tested upon arrival. He is now being isolated at the designated isolation facility at Kanoa Resort. Contact tracing has begun for close contacts, including other passengers aboard that flight. The case was determined to meet the CHCC person under investigation criteria. The total number of confirmed COVID-19 cases in the CNMI is now 16. In national news, globally, the number of coronavirus cases has passed the 4 million mark. About one-third of the more than 77,000 reported U.S. coronavirus deaths have happened in New York State. Now, the governor is addressing a new ailment in children that may be related to COVID. CBS News correspondent Dana Bacchus has the latest.
New York Governor Andrew Cuomo spoke about a mysterious illness that has now taken the lives of 3 children in the state.
Toddler elementary school children are presenting symptoms similar to Kawasaki disease or toxic shock-like syndrome.
Cuomo says the ailment affects children's blood vessels and potentially the heart. It does not appear to attack the respiratory system. But the state health department is studying 73 cases in which children with the syndrome have COVID-19 antibodies or test positive for the coronavirus.
This is the last thing that we need at this time with all that's going on.
New York, the nation's hardest hit state, has not started easing stay-at-home restrictions. The rules are set to expire Friday, with plans to gradually reopen businesses in some areas. Open Up Kansas protesters rallied near the State House in Topeka Saturday.
Every job is essential.
Governor Laura Kelly's phased reopening plan took effect on Monday. In parts of western Pennsylvania, retail businesses opened their doors on Friday, giving shoppers a chance to support local businesses.
They know you by name, they know your style, they know, so, I mean, it's important, just having that interaction.
In Tennessee, residents took advantage of this weekend's partial reopening of the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. And in Ocean City, Maryland, the chilly temperatures didn't deter dozens of people from lining up for boardwalk treats at the reopened beaches. Danya Bacchus, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Dr. Anthony Fauci says he is going to do a modified quarantine after being exposed to a White House staffer who tested positive for COVID. Fauci, a member of the task force, is considered low risk and tested negative on Friday. He said he will stay home, telework, and wear a mask for 14 days, but may go into his office and be the only person there. In other news, IT&E stores in the Micronesia Mall and GPO reopened today to serve customers. Measures have been put in place to ensure health and safety. Plexiglass shields are installed at registers and customer service desks. All customers are required to wear a mask to enter any IT&E store and follow social distancing guidelines. IT&E associates will also wear masks have been directed to sanitize workstations and wash hands frequently. And finally, in your banking 671 report, with stimulus checks being mailed out, residents are able to cash them at various banks even if they're not a member. Those banks are Bank of Guam, Bank of Hawaii, Bank Pacific, and First Hawaiian Bank. The Guam Bankers Association also reminds public that to avoid waiting in lines, you can also use ATMs. And that is your banking 671 tip from Bank of Guam and Coast 360.
All right, thank you very much. Sabrina Salas-Ventanani, 642. So, yeah, definitely a lot of issues to go over this morning's containing COVID. Some of the commitments we have early on, we're going to be hearing from Speaker Tina Munia Barnes. She's been writing some letters. She also been getting some letters. I don't know if you guys saw this response from the governor about the veto of Bill 333. Ouch! Somebody was butthurt. We'll talk about that with Speaker Barnes later on in the show. Also, we're going to get my primo Ben Servino, who is a former director of DISID, and we want to kind of go into this DISID issue, of course, because we broke the story that other media has since jumped on. Pretty simple story, black and white, hiring documents, something we do all the time here at KUAM News, and just very interesting how the governor had a very different response to what the document said in black and white. And I'm not sure if it was a case of she just gave a directive that, and then didn't follow through with it, or if she's just really that misinformed about who's working for administration, because she came out, it was kind of hard. She took Adriana to task and was basically like, I don't know what document you're talking about. Show me the document, girl. Where? Huh?
Like we wouldn't ask the question if we didn't have the document.
I mean, that's what, that's what gets me. And it's a trend with the governor. When I asked about the phones, remember if you go back a bunch of press conferences, Public Health, Linda had given out these phone numbers, and we had asked the governor, hey, none of these phone numbers work. And instead of taking our word for it, she proceeded to say, oh, no, I use my phone, they are working for me. And it's the same thing. I mean, and I think, if we as the media, when we're going to this press conference, we don't want to look stupid. So, of course, we want to make sure that everything on our end is covered. And so that's why I thought it was a really interesting response from the governor. But what was more interesting was that the governor really went all the way out on that limb and said that, oh, no, we hired her before the COVID, boy, because, the disabilities, they got to do the thing. And, it's very important to hire a political hire. To help the disabled. That's how important. It's more important than hiring technical people who help the disabled. It's more important to hire a political hire to make somebody happy. So we found out after that this woman was working for the Department of Education. The whole time the governor thought she was working for DISID. And she only just resigned April 10th, 3 days before she was officially hired at the Department of Administration for DISID. So it just, really it's... Anyway, we're going to get to that coming up here. Jay, good morning.
Okay, before we get rocking and rolling, good morning, guys, on this show.
Jason Salas, everybody.
Hi, good morning, everybody. There have been some comments that have already bubbled up from you guys in the in our chat room, and that's why this is such a great show, because we provide the content, you guys provide the conversation. Together, we make a community, and that's why this is such a cool interactive show. But not just this morning. People are asking specifically, when will the Department of Motor Vehicles open? All weekend on our
Not
Facebook
today.
page. Yeah.
It's not open today.
People were specifically, the most requested agency is DMV, but people are basically saying, okay, you're opening the malls. When are government agencies opening? Have we any indication of when DMV may reopen its doors, Chris?
Okay, so I asked Daphne, because you guys had been asking, so much about this, and Daphne said our agency will open in phases. DMV will not be open on Monday. She's going to call in this morning a little bit after she does her 7:14 prayer. So she'll be calling in around, 7:18, 7:20-ish, and we'll find out. But basically, you guys got to pass with DMV, okay? It's not open. You want to do, there's some online stuff that you guys can do if you want to pay that way. Go for it. But it's not going to be open today. We don't know if it's going to be open tomorrow. And we'll find out for you guys. So 6:45, with PCOR 2 being declared BREATHE, there are certain new guidelines from the Department of Public Health and Social Services that have been put out in order for us to kind of adhere to their advice and also still enjoy the new freedoms that we have under PCOR 2. So we wanted to bring Francis from Public Health up. Good morning, Francis.
Hi, Francis.
Hi, Chris. Hi, Sabrina. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes. Good morning to everyone and to all of you listening to KUM Isla 94. Good morning.
That's it, Francis. So we wanted to bring you on just to talk about, as we have some new and gradual reopenings around the island, from shopping centers to, the mall was open, hair salons and stuff. I know that you guys put out some guidance for both the businesses and the customers, and we kind of wanted to go over those things with you, Francis, if we could.
Oh, yes, that would be great. Yes, Chris, yes. So, yes, the Executive Order 2020-14 P-Core 2 on Sunday, May 10, was provided by our governor, and that the following have been open: our floral shop, professional services, real estate sales, automotive sales, shopping centers, our malls. Woo, that's great. Hair and nail salons, everybody now could have a haircut. Restaurants for takeout only, and elective medical and dental treatment are now open. So with all of that, they should be able to provide and submit to public health on policies that would, first they should have what are their plans on how to observe social distancing, meaning how each and every of these establishment should be maintaining 6 feet apart. So if it were tables should be properly arranged, and then policies on hand washing and the routine of cleaning of those surfaces, those areas that need to be cleaned and disinfected. All of those policies should be provided to public health and uploaded or submitted to us. Things like that.
Francis,
and then,
is there let's say, for example, I'm reopening and I'm a business. Is there guidelines on how often I need to disinfect the business and the setting of the store or whatnot?
Oh yes, Chris. The guidelines on that is that they should be able to provide information on how often, and that is if at least for every hour that they should be able to provide the cleaning and disinfecting of those frequently touched surfaces.
I see.
And they should provide a schedule, a listing of people who would be doing it, things like that, a checklist.
Nice.
Just to show that there are people doing it and the frequency and how often that they will be cleaning and disinfecting these contact surfaces, contact surfaces that keep being constantly touched, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know when I go to like Payless, before you get to check out, they always like wipe down the conveyor belt. Do you ever see that?
Yes.
Yeah, right? That's pretty good
Oh,
stuff
yes.
there.
Oh yes, actually, I think if I have not mistaken, in all those times that they do my groceries, yes, they always clean, and it's just really nice. And I'm really glad that all of our businesses are following this because we're all onto this.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I think some businesses are going above and beyond too. Before this guidance came out, we had Payless, for example, and other stores. They're spraying down the shopping carts, spraying down the handles.
Oh yeah.
Spraying down the conveyor belt, observing the social distancing. I mean, so many of these businesses have
Put the tape down.
Yeah, they spent money on these cool stickers that show you where the hell you got to line up.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and then now I went yesterday to a hardware store, and they're spraying your hands before you can go in. They got a little guy with a spray bottle. And it's like they give you and you spray. And then I guess presumably the idea is that you got clean hands. Let me go touch everything now. I mean, you shouldn't do that, but I don't. That's the kind of stuff that goes through my head.
Well, even the stores that they have the sinks outside, like a lot of mom and pop stores have done that.
So yeah, we definitely see the businesses. For the most part, be vigilant, guys. Keep an eye on these businesses, because Francis, on the enforcement side, how are you guys going to handle? Because you put out these guidelines, but how do you know if the businesses are going to be doing them? Are you relying on the customers maybe to snitch it out?
That's a good question, Chris. And so far, what is being what we know is that these policies should be in place, and before they open, and they should provide us a copy of their plan for this purpose. And for purposes, if you think anyone in the community out there think that this has not been observed, please do not hesitate to call the Joint Information Center, 478-0208 until 10. So 472-0209 or 472-0210. So if you think they're not following this and their plans, even if they had submitted to us, and it's not being followed, please do not hesitate to call this number so that we will be reminding them and informing them again of these policies that they should follow.
Mm-hmm. What about in instances where you see like hundreds of people at the beach, and obviously, you know, it's supposed to be, I think the governor said that for individual use, but you still see like a lot of people. I know that at 10, right? 10 is a social gathering limit, but you still see a lot of people that are congregating. Who enforces that, or is it like that? Well, you know, I said it and forget it.
Said it and forget it.
Really? Really?
That's a good one. I'm gonna quote that, Bree. Can I put that on my Twitter?
I believe that's also copyrighted by some infomercial, maybe, but we'll look that up.
But it's usually said it with a S-E-T. Set it and forget it. But Bree with the little S-A-I-D, said it and forget it. Even got Francis. Francis like, I don't know where to go after that.
Well, that's really true. That's one of those things we need to remember, that the beaches are for individual use only, and it should not be. There should be no crowding, and actually they should be sent home. Whoever's implementing that, it would be nice to call the Joint Information Center number, and maybe they would provide us and guide us to who and who would be the best agency to look for that. 4780208.
Right, and I think, Francis, the problem is that we said individual use, but now everybody is going and they're using the beach individually, but there's just so many, I'm assuming, different groups of 10, right? So
yes, that's really true, Chris. Yeah. So with that, please, folks, if ever you're planning to use the beach, please, let's have it for individual use only. Okay. And we prevent crowding, because it's very important that we go to our normal lives and to go on what we should be doing. So please, if ever you see this, please don't forget to call the Joint Information Center.
But do they work on weekends?
Oh, that's a good question, Sabrina. I may not be able to give an answer to that question.
Sabrina got the good questions this morning, huh, Francis?
Oh, yeah, I know. Oh, my gosh.
Everybody calling in, heads up. Sabrina's got the good questions today. Oh, there goes half her calls. I better not call.
Okay, so Francis, we talked about the businesses that are now reopened on a limited capacity, but there were also the other businesses that were in the advisory under the Para-Hinemlo plan, and those included the gyms, the spas, the golf courses, the bingo halls. So how does that work? Are they each going to have to send in their plans to public health, or just as long as they meet these guidelines that you have here from public health?
Yeah, with regards to that, they should also coordinate with the Guam Chamber of Commerce. For other information, yes, they should be guided by the industry, particularly the Guam Chamber of Commerce, for that purpose, other than submitting to us whatever plans do they have. Yes, Sabrina.
Okay, but we don't know if any of them are open, or is it the governor who has to make that announcement? All gyms are now approved to be open?
Yes.
Or do they just open on their own?
No, definitely. They need to coordinate with the Guam Chamber of Commerce to be guided accordingly. And yes, definitely, it should be coming from the governor's executive order on those what is listed to open.
Okay. All right.
Well, thank you, Francis, for bringing a little bit of sunshine into our studio on this gloomy Monday morning.
Oh, no, it's a very nice day today, Chris. And yes, we will be having a nice day today. It's a Monday. Even if it's raining, it's a nice day today. And, Chris, before I forget, may we also add us on our announcement that the Division of Environmental Health Processing Center will remain closed until further notice. As a result, applications for new and renewing health certificates will not be accepted and processed, but their health certificates expiring February 16, 2020 to May 22 will be continue to be valid until further notice.
Okay. Well, you said that in the nicest way possible. He's like, guess what? We're not doing any more health certificates, and your health certificate's still going to be good until we say it's good.
Yes, it is.
Good job,
Thanks,
Francis.
Chris.
Okay.
And thank you, Chris and Sabrina, for allowing us, the Department of Public Health and Social Services Echo team, to be in your show. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
God bless you, Francis.
Thank you, Chris. And have a nice day to both of you, and take care.
Take care.
Take care, Chris.
Okay.
Good morning, and wash your hands, Francis.
I will, Chris. I will.
Right.
Thank you so much.
There you go. That's Francis Esper from Public Health's Echo team. They're basically the education community outreach arm of the division, Department of Public Health and Social Services. 6:57. You know what is going on today?
What's going on today?
Election stuff. Politics.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Right. So we're going to get Maria Pangilinan from the Guam Election Commission, as they are about an hour away from opening up, and I think they're accepting packet drop-off or something like that. So we're going to get her on.
Accepting packets.
Right. So we'll get her on at 6:57, the 11th day of Monday, where KUAM-FM and Hagatni Guam, the KUAM News takeover of Guam's favorite containing COVID.
Keeping you informed, KUAM News brings you Banking 671, brought to you by the Bank of Guam, the People's Bank, and Coast 360 Federal Credit Union. Together, we thrive.
KUAM News COVID-19 Takeover on I-94 FM is presented locally by Ambrose Inc.
GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information.
With the new challenges we're all facing, First Hawaiian Bank wants to make sure you have access to your financial world. With FHB Online and our mobile app, we hope to make banking the least of your worries. Visit fhb.com/digital.
Be healthy. Be informed with ITD. Be healthy. Be informed with ITD.
Good morning, Guam.
Sorry about that.
Good morning, Marianas. Oh man, miss these ladies. Takes me back to one of our early Live Local Friday performances, Serena and Paige. Remember, this is the Live Local Fridays, and they're all on YouTube, so if you guys want to go back and check them out, I always do that once in a while. This is the one where they did that Mungama song and cover that just went crazy. Anyway, I'm getting in my I'm getting in my radio feels over here.
Reminiscing. Huh?
Yeah, 702. Good morning. Well, let's go to the phones where we have a woman standing by who chooses to remain anonymous. But, ma'am, you were calling about the Procurement, Juda Salapi para Itautau, Siha, or something.
Something in Chihuahua.
The local disaster
That's the
aid
Lumpy program.
The governor's program. with
Right.
Federal money.
Yes.
So what is the issue?
I wanted to just let you guys know, I'm not too sure if you guys were aware, but Public Health did not know that the program even existed until the day of the announcement.
Right.
And I called Wednesday, and they say they weren't aware. And then because they were still working on the application, and then I called Thursday, and I was like asking them, how can we email them or even do the application if you guys are not making it accessible where we're able to type on the application? So they had that error, they fixed it, and I emailed them all my application and my documents, and they said that I spoke to the lady in charge, and she said that...
Which lady, ma'am?
I'm not too sure. I forgot her name because I was really like upset of how they were running it, or even the way they were talking to me. But it's the person in charge, and she said that their job is just to print it out and send it to DOA. And then, because I wanted to double check if they received my email, my documents, and if...
In other words, you were trying to do their job for them and make it easy so that you can get the check, right? Yeah, so you're trying to say, hey, I'm doing all this stuff. I did my part. Show me the money.
But not technically, I just wanted to make sure that they got my application and my documents. And also, they weren't even aware of the new changes that was on the website, because on Wednesday they said all we needed was two check stubs, two check stubs and an ID and our social security. So when I went back, when I checked on Friday, I called them and I said, I'm trying to get a marriage verification, and she's like, why do you need a marriage verification? It's like, it's on your website.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so technically like you can say, I did their job for them because they weren't even aware of all these changes. And I told them that, why am I might as well just get paid for you. I mean, get paid. Give me your paycheck and I'll do your job for you, And even DOA, I'm trying to find out like who can verify to make sure I have all my documents in place so that there's no error.
Ma'am,
and
pause for just a second. I just want to address the audience out there, guys. If you're hearing what this woman is saying, I just want to know, did anybody get the Adjutant Salapi para Itautau checks yet? We were told they were going to be cut on Friday, Bree.
Mm-hmm.
So anybody out there, even on the comments, if you guys got it, throw it in the comments. I always have the comments. I go Keaton. I got my left eye on the comments, my right eye on you guys. Okay, so if you guys got a check, put it out there. But this is kind of crazy, ma'am, and I gotta say, this is an estimate. This is about the millionth time that the rest of the government of Guam has found out about something the governor wants to do by watching the press conference.
And when she made the announcement, she told people to go to Public Health's website and fill out the application. And so at the time, because I did, it was the SNAP public assistance application.
Right.
But you're right. A couple days later, there was a separate, brand new application just for the Procurement Salapi Zudani Tatao program.
Mm-hmm. Yes, because
which one did you fill out?
On the disaster funds, I filled that one out because I don't qualify for food stamp. Because according to her, she said, according to the governor, she's like, go ahead and apply for the food stamp and whatever, but she's not in our shoes. She doesn't know that you need to qualify in order to get the food stamp, So she needs to get her ducks in a row before even saying that a lot of us can qualify for a program. And also that she needs to make sure that everyone is aware before even announcing it on the air.
They need to hire you as a policy director at Adelup.
Thanks. I know.
I mean, Jesus, this is basic stuff here, guys. Come on.
Yeah, because even
It's so basic.
I don't even know who's even reviewing the documents, because according to the public health, is their job, quote, is just to print it out, whatever says disaster relief fund, and then send it to DOA. But when I called DOA on Friday, they said that their job is just to cut the checks. So there's a middle guy there that's missing.
Maybe they need to hire another deputy director.
Probably they're really getting paid too much. I mean, you know. And
Boy, you were like their worst nightmare. You were their worst. You were someone who is going to find all the flaws and then call the media about it.
Well, you know, I was losing sleep. I was like, man, you know, this is irritating, because here I am trying to help my family, because, you know, it's really, we're struggling, but not that bad, but it's still, you know, it really sucks. And also, just to point out, is when I caught about the mayor's verification, the guy who answered the phone, he said, well, the mayor's office know what to do about your mayor's verification. I called the mayor's office, and they said, well, you know, your stuff is expired. You need to do, you know, I need to call your landlord. And I said, come on, we are in the middle of pandemic. Why are you giving me a hard time?
Okay,
you know?
ma'am, pause, hold on. Everybody out there, thank you guys from the comments, and this is just anecdotal. Nobody got their Azuran Salapi Tautau check thing. Let me ask you guys again, has anybody successfully completed the application process? Just put it on the comments there, ma'am. So were you able to successfully complete the application process?
I was, with the thanks to myself, who I told them to add the little things where you were able to do it online versus having to physically go there, drop it off, where I can safely do it at my house and protect my kids. I was successfully able to do it online.
Right. Yeah, this is something we kind of knew. The low income.
Did you get a response, like received?
No, and the funny thing is I said, please respond back when received. And that's when I called them, and like I said, is their job is to print at it and not respond to anybody and give it to DOA. How easy is it for you to say, yes, received? You know, it's really easy. If, you know, they're getting paid a lot, they're lucky that they even have a job. At least do their job correctly.
All right, well, I just messaged the Department of Administration Director, Ed Byrne. But you know what? I mean, Jesus, H, they listen to the show. All the government people listen to the show. So, I don't know, if I'm a comms guy or a person or a policy person, when I hear this, I'm going to be like, hey, this is what the deal is, you know. I don't know.
Yeah, you
Kind of basic.
Should stay on it just to make sure that they did, in fact, receive it, because if they don't, then you're probably not going to get a check.
And I mean, the whole point of this...
Yeah, you have to stay on top of that, I guess.
Yeah, you got to stay on top of it. The government should be on top of it.
Yes, because, you know, I mean, I don't even remember our government even having so much issues. And then what I'm kind of like, it's weird, is because the governor has her son-in-law to working alongside her. But to me, from an employee, it's like conflict of interest. So that I'm just throwing that out there. Yeah. If I'm not the only one that noticed that.
I don't think you're the only one that noticed that.
So, okay, but...
Okay, well, you know what, ma'am? Thank you. I mean, I know you're sharing your personal story, but I think this is good information for everybody out there who's trying to get a check. I mean, the point of this program was for it to be stood up quickly so that people could get the aid while they're waiting for the unemployment, while they're waiting for the stimulus. Lana, the way they set this up, by the time you guys get the salapi para Zurini Tautau, it's going to be Christmas.
Yeah, because when the first application, they didn't even were able to fill it out. She, according to the lady, she said, "Well, ma'am, you have to download this because, and in order to be able to type on the application." I said, "I don't have time."
Okay, so we had Mr. Burns said that 500 checks were cut on, I guess, Friday. Okay.
But that's why I said, I don't have time for all of that. Why don't you just make it simple, have it already where we're able just to plug it in and, you know, submit our documents attached instead of having to go there and drop it off and, you know. But thank you guys so much for letting me share my story, and I hope I'm not the only one.
Well, I hope you are the only one, but I don't think you are.
Let's just say I'm the
trying to be positive here.
Thanks. Yes.
Can you
we
give
all
us
need
a
that.
call, though, back whenever you do get your check, just so we know that your application actually went through?
Of course, of course. Thank you so much.
You can shoot us a message on any of the thingies there, you know.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Take care.
You too. Bye.
All right. Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's not the first time. I mean, it happens a lot where you have people at the Joint Information Center, they don't know anything until the governor announces stuff in the press conference, and then they get, you know, this is going back to when she said we're going to put letters on the car. Remember when she said we're going to put letters on the car?
I remember when
And
there was
she
also when we called 311, which is the Joint Information Center, trying to get information about, was this public health emergency extended or not, and they had no idea.
Yeah, they got, I mean, Leche, bro, you got to clue your team in, bro. It's like you go on the football field and the quarterback's just going to run his own play and the team don't even know what's going on.
Yeah.
And then the quarterback's going to get mad that he threw the ball at you and you're running the other way. It's because you didn't tell the guy.
You know, and there's also still people that are waiting to be approved, their application for SNAP.
Right.
Tomas, I haven't forgot you.
Yeah.
But, you know, he had applied, and he's been waiting for them to verify that, you know, he's going to get his...
And we asked Tess Archangel about this, and you know, part of what she said was, hey, they might be leaving the wrong phone number, or in some cases where they haven't been approved, our staff is trying to get a hold of them, but they can't. So on your end, you know, be like the lady who just called up. Okay, I know it's unfortunate. I know that we're expecting the government to kind of hold our hand in a lot of this stuff, but do your part. Mm-hmm. Do on your own due diligence.
Mm-hmm. And you know,
so that you can say, hey, I did my part.
Yeah, and it is unfortunate that the people that are working these phone lines, these caseworkers, aren't aware. And so, of course, they're going to be dealing with frustrated people. And, you know, I got to say, they are working too, and they're doing the best they can with whatever information is told to them and whatever resources they have in front of them.
Yeah, I mean, they're amazing. They're COVID heroes, but the one thing that they are not is mind readers.
Exactly.
Unless that was in the governor's executive order. Was there something in there about you are all now mind readers?
No, I didn't.
All right. All right, 7:15. Well, we're getting a little bit backed up here. I want to get Maria Pangilinan from the Guam Election Commission on to talk about there's an election. So there's still an election, right, Miss Maria?
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Miss Maria. How was your Mother's Day? Happy Mother's Day.
Thank you very much. It was very good. Very, very good. Thank you.
I feel like you would be one of the people who would still adhere to the guidelines, gathering no more than 10 people. Was that what your Mother's Day was like?
Yes, it was. It was actually like that. We had neighbors, but in the neighborhood, we were always 6 feet apart too. Out in the open air, thank you.
Wow. Good for you. That's good. And so you are going to be 6 feet apart this morning as one of the first big signs that we have an election coming up is the packet drop-off, right? And that's happening this morning?
Yes, and I just got a call from one of our candidates that he's already in line at the Northern Satellite Center of the Superior Court to try to get his Superior Court clearance.
Mm.
So, because candidates must have all three clearances when they file, that would be their district court clearance, their Superior Court clearance, and their police clearance.
Who's the candidate?
Sabrina, it's okay.
So can you go back? Are you saying that they can't get their clearances?
Yes, actually, last week we reached out to or 2 weeks ago maybe, we reached out to all 3 agencies, and so the district court had something on their website, and we created a link to that to their website. The Superior Court told us to just let the candidates know to go to their website, and that the Northern Satellite will be open today at 8 o'clock, and they will be able to do Superior Court clearances. With the Guam Police Department, the chief and I set it up so that we could, with the candidate's authorization, request for the police clearances, and they will send it to us, and we will give it to them when they come in to file. Before they come in, the Guam Election Commission will call the candidate to let them know that we do have a police clearance. They can come in and file. And that service is still available for any candidate that still doesn't have their police clearance. We know that GPD will be open today, record section starting at 8. But if you wanted us to request for the police clearance, we can do it. Get on our website, submit all the information, and complete the authorization form, and we can try to get the police clearance for you.
And again, the deadline to file, this is to file for candidacy, right? The deadline to file for candidacy is June 3rd?
June 30th.
June 30th,
So we
okay.
still have a little bit of time, yes. So this morning, I'm sitting in the parking lot, but I see the staff going into our first floor of the GCIC arcade. We are going to be accepting and taking care of the public on the first floor. So candidates, instead of going up to the second floor, please proceed to the first floor. We have someone in the breezeway right as you enter to direct you as to where to go.
Okay. Gosh, are you expecting a lot of people to flood the GEC?
I don't think so, but we want to make sure, we put all the protocols. We've tried to put all the protocols in order. We've marked off the indoor corridor of the arcade, and so we're just ready to go. Typically, if this were a typical first day candidate filing, yes, I would expect quite a few lining up already before 8 o'clock. But with the challenges that we have today, there should be a few. We were able to get 8 police clearances for 8 candidates who had requested for assistance to publish to get their police clearances. We were able to get, with the cooperation and the assistance of the Guam Police Department, if those 8 candidates already have everything else in order, they should be able to file today.
What sort of planning or discussions are you guys having over at the Guam Election Commission? Because if there's still that potential of having this surge in September, and that's typically when the primary occurs,
right?
What kind of plans do you have in place to address the possibility of postponing it or extending and rescheduling it?
Yes, since the very get-go, we got direction from our commissioners. Please contact the Department of Public Health and Social Services. So we know they're very busy, and we don't want to detract from what they have to do. But they have, in all their business, they have given us some time to talk about and learn and refer us to the different, to what we can do and what the best practices out there. So we do have signs at the entrances. We do in our arcade office. We marked off 6 feet. We all are wearing masks, and we won't let anybody in without the mask. All our staff are we've gotten PPEs for all our staff.
You have the plexiglass up, Miss Maria, there in the front?
No, but I'm talking about the actual primary election.
Right, yeah.
Like, I mean, we're probably looking at low voter turnout because nobody, especially if we have this so-called surge.
Well, Sabrina, we, besides the primary election, we do still have the Jonia special election on the books.
So that's going to be your practice run, right?
Oh, yes. So we've bought infrared thermometers. I went and I got some consulting with the Health Services of the Pacific, and they've taught us over the phone how to use the infrared thermometers. But they will have somebody. They're going to send us somebody to train with the infrared thermometers.
Right.
We do have that. As soon as we get some training, we will use them. We've gone to the CDC website, and we've talked to deputy directors and the director of public health to get us assistance to get this thing going.
Mm-hmm. And it sounds like you guys might need to put in a request for some extra money.
Right.
There's like $118 million in CARES Act funding.
Did you get any of that?
Get some laptops or iPads.
Inside the CARES Act, the Guam Election Commission got some money directly from the CARES Act.
Miss Maria, but what about this? If I show up to vote, do you guys do the infrared? I got a temperature. You turn me away. How am I able to still vote? What's the process after that? And I know, are we still like hypothetical on this? Because, I'm just wondering.
Yes. So again, in talking with the health professionals, one of the ways we can deal with them is be able to get them to vote in the car. So if they got down and they're close to the precinct and we find out they have a temperature, we will let them know to go to the car, and we will assist them in the car at the polling place. Sabrina and Chris, we're also, in the books there's homebound, in the law there's homebound voting.
Right.
So we've been talking with the health professionals about homebound voting, and our homebound coordinator has been also doing a bunch of research, a bunch of us have, on how to deal with this. And so we are learning this stuff. I was teasing a couple of my family. I said, I think one of my sisters is a certified nursing assistant. I said, do you think I will qualify soon enough? And so, and my staff will, because that's what we're looking at. Besides the best practices for elections, also looking for the best practices for COVID measures.
Okay, Miss Maria, we got to run because we got Daphne Shimizu on the line. I'm not saying that you're any less important, but she's got news about the stimulus.
Okay.
The stimulus. Okay, thank you, Miss Maria. Are you going to send us some pictures?
We will.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Wash your hands.
Day. Good luck today.
All right. There you go, Miss Maria Pangolina. And let's move quickly here to Revenue and Taxation and Daphne Shimizu, the director. Good morning, Daphne.
Morning.
Hi, good morning.
So
good morning.
I guess we'll just give you the floor because I know you're, checking the printer and everything. But where are we with the stimulus checks? I know you said that you were going to start printing them out. Was it today?
My team actually came in yesterday on Mother's Day. We had a team of people from here at Rev Tech, and also from the Office of Technology, and also we had our team who was our IT vendor who was also on standby, making sure that everything went well. We began printing checks yesterday. We printed several thousands of checks yesterday. We're going to be making our announcement on that later today, but our team this morning is just going through the reports, making sure that we dot all our I's, cross all our T's before we transmit them, but we're expecting to transmit checks over to the Treasurer of Guam for mailing beginning this afternoon at the latest. So that's where we are with that, and we're real excited. We cannot wait to get these monies out to our people, and we're excited to get that going. But we did work over the weekend, and I'm thankful to my team for we had a bunch of moms who were in here over the weekend, just making sure that we take care of our people. And I'll share with you even in regards to our Guam EIP at revtax.guam.gov. email address. I can't give enough kudos to Norma Jean Flores, who is the head of that group, but she was responding to emails even as late as like 8, 9 last night, and I told her, I said, Norma Jean, it's Mother's Day, just take a break tonight. And she says, ma'am, my family is taking care of me so I can take care of our people. And I thought that was probably like just very beautiful. So, we have really dedicated people. We want to get these monies out. Again, we'll make the announcement on the number of checks today. We are printing we printed several thousands yesterday. I'm really excited to share that with our people. We will release the final information on how many checks those will be once we get once we are done reviewing all of the reports this morning, and so that's what our team is doing. But again, thank you, Chris and Sabrina. Thank you to our people. We have said in the last week that we would work to get these out, and we're almost there. We're like on the 26th mile of a marathon. Right? So
this is when you get tired, though.
I'm going to go. And I'll share with you, I've never run a marathon, but many years ago.
Don't do it.
I was part of a running group. So, and I still am part of this running group, except I don't really run. But
so you're still in the chat, in other words.
Yeah, exactly. We did gate to gate, and every year, how gate to gate works is, in 1 year it'll go north to south from Anderson to Navy, and then the other year it goes from south to north from Navy to Anderson. So the 1 year that I did do it with my dear friend Cheryl, we did gate to gate, and by the time, so it goes from Navy to Anderson. And I feel like right now I am probably at Jigo Church, where you can't really tell there's an incline, but boy, when you run already like almost 20 miles or whatever that is, it's exhausting. But we're almost there. We're really, really almost there. We're really excited. My team, I was very emotional yesterday morning when my team advised me early that, ma'am, we're going to be able to run the checks. We were able to get a lot of the validations back from the IRS on what we needed so that we can get these out. And again, several thousands are going to be released to Treasurer of Guam. No later than this afternoon. We'll let you know the final on that later.
I'm so glad it's alphabetical, right, Daphne?
You know what? All of that is programmed into our system. I know people have been asking, about that, but all of that is programmed into our system. I've not been involved in that. Our team is very involved with our system. It's going again by validly processed and filed 2019, and if not, then validly processed and filed 2018.
Got it.
But if you don't mind, would you mind if I talk a little bit about our services today, because we have a line outside.
Yes, Daphne. People keep asking about DMV. So again, everybody who's asking about DMV, Daphne Shimizu is on the floor. Go for it.
So, I know, and thank you so much to our team who worked on this, Dr. Ricky Hernandez. I really believe that, the system that he put together, he worked so hard with our doctors, with, just making sure that the system made sense and it was a good system. And so although we're in PCOR 2 right now, it's a gradual lifting. And for Rev and Tax, it's going to be a gradual opening because we have so many customer service touch points. It's really challenging for us. So for today, we are only open down at Business License Permit Center, which is at DPW, and only those services which are directly related to business licenses, real property tax, and collections are actually customer facing, and that is only at the DPW compound at Business License Permit Center. Our team is meeting because, of course, we are working on putting together a final plan for how we're going to be able to provide the services for other things that we do. As you know, we have a lot of services, right? We have passport, business license, driver's license, motor vehicle registration, and we have insurance, securities, banking, real estate, weights and measures, ABC, compliance. So we have so many services here. We have like over 20 branches. So it takes a lot of coordination for us to make sure that we are open, but not just that we're open safely, and making sure that we keep not just our people internally safe, but also our public. So all of that is happening. We have several meetings today that we have to make sure that so we could take care of people. But again, it's only at the Business License Permit Center. The services we have there, we have real property tax, our business license group, and our collections. But I just want everybody to know as well that we do have our customer service lines that you can call. So I know a lot of people have questions about the EIP, about their income taxes, and even just actually if you have any questions at all about any of our services at Rev and Tax, our customer service center is available. You can call us. And I suggest that you please do. Our team, we do our best to get back to our people. Again, it just says a lot that we had our customer service supervisor here yesterday answering emails and making sure that we got back to people. She probably, she showed me, it was like over 800 conversations that she responded to. I'm amazed at just the level of dedication, and honestly, it's overwhelming to me. I tell everybody here, I'm so blessed that I have the opportunity to work with such an amazing team. And, I am such a huge kind of believer in this idea of synergy, that, 1 plus 1 does not have to equal 2. 1 plus 1 can equal 10, right? And so with our team, I think a lot of our successes internally, and actually our successes in general has been because, this idea of synergy, that when we work together, we can accomplish so much. And our team has just been so amazing. And then, of course, with the media just being so great at making sure you guys get the message out, because, again, I'm hoping that if people are driving in this morning, they hear this, because, again, we've had since before 6:30, and I have had people here since before 6:30. They're calling me, please, we need to get the word out. So
right, we'll get it out.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity to say that as well.
Of course, Daphne.
So, but really, that's where we are. I don't have a whole lot of time. I'm still working towards doing some things. But yes, Revenue Tax has already, over the weekend, on Mother's Day, we printed out several thousands of checks. We're just reviewing things right now this morning, one more time, again, making sure that we get things, done correctly. And of course, this is not a perfect system, even with regards to the IRS. Because we're rolling out such a huge program in such a short amount of time, there are going to be some things that we may have to communicate on with regards to just kind of how things go. But, we're doing our best to make sure that it's as good as we could possibly get it, because, we want to get these out to our people. And again, I said this before, but I truly do love our people. I love our island. I love Guam. Our team is here. We recognize the fact that, our main job is to serve our people, and that is what we're here to do. And again, thank you, Sabrina and Chris, and thank you, Guam. And, we're here to serve you. Please call us, call our call center, 635-1840, 4142 and 57, or email us at Guam, EIP, Echo, Igloo, Papa, at revtax.guam.gov. And so have a great day, Guam, and have a great day, Chris and Sabrina. Thank you.
You too.
Thank you, Daphne.
Thanks,
Wash your hands.
I will. I'll
Okay.
try.
Okay, bye. There you go, Daphne Shimizu. 7:35. Yeah, so, can we just say they're COVID heroes, everyone that came to work yesterday on Mother's Day?
Yay.
I mean, I know that your Mother's Day gift was tied up in that stimulus money, and so there might have been, you want to get that check out so, the other half can get, so anyway, just thank you. That's awesome. 7:35. Bree, we're going to take a break, and we're coming back, and we're going to dive right into this issue of how important it is to hire a political hire as a deputy director at DISID during a pandemic. Okay, so we're going to get Ben Servino. He's the former director under the Cabo Tenori administration. Also, we've gotten a lot of feedback about this from our listeners. We'll be talking about that coming up right here on the KUAM News Takeover, Guam's favorite. It is containing COVID. Good morning.
Keeping you informed, KUAM News brings you Banking 671, brought to you by the Bank of Guam, the People's Bank, and Coast 360 Federal Credit Union. Together, we thrive.
KUAM News COVID-19 Takeover on I-94 FM is presented locally by Ambrose Inc.
GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information.
With the new challenges we're all facing, First Hawaiian Bank wants to make sure you have access to your financial world. With FHB Online and our mobile app, we hope to make banking the least of your worries. Visit fhb.com/digital.
healthy. Be informed with ITD. Be healthy. Be informed with ITD. Be healthy. Be informed with ITD.
appreciate your feedback, Sabrina. 7:43. Yeah, that's my buddy Elway. I wonder about him. I know he was working over at Macy's. Is he back? Anyway, awesome job. Great song. Always try and get as much local music as we can in here on the Containing COVID Multimedia Broadcast Extravaganza. 7:42. So we're going to kind of go into this issue of the hiring of a deputy director at the Department of Integrated Services for Individuals with Disabilities. This director effectively hired through the Department of Administration on April 13th. Okay. The personnel action date was April 27th. And so anybody who works for Gov Guam knows that you don't get paid until you're effectively processed through DOA. So the governor's office had reached out to us after the press conference and had tried to say that the governor was correct and that she interviewed this Michelle L.C. Perez last year. I think we're going to let the governor explain. I don't want to speak for the governor. So here we go. This is the governor at Friday's press conference where our Adriana Quintero had asked her about the hiring of a political hire during a pandemic.
So how do you justify filling this non-essential political hire position, or if you could just explain it, especially while thousands in the private sector have been either laid off, furloughed, or had their hours cut?
So my recollection is we hired the deputy of DISIT before the COVID crisis. We hired the deputy director of DISIT because we needed to have that position. We needed to have that position to provide the services for individuals with disabilities. We needed to make sure that we have the necessary operations to provide for our individuals with disabilities. We wanted to make sure that individuals with disabilities are given the vocational training so that they can be self-sufficient and so that they can provide for their own self-reliance and self-sustenance. So my understanding was this position has been filled before even the COVID virus. So I don't know what document you're looking at, that it was just recently hired, because I have my recollection that this individual, I know because I interviewed this individual since last year. And I think I'm not too sure whether we hired this individual in December or January, but it was definitely before March 14th.
Well, the document I'm looking at, it says effective date was April 13th. And this is a FOIA request from the Department of Administration.
So I don't know what document you're looking at. I don't know, are you looking at the GG1? Are you looking at the personnel action document?
No, as I said, our FOIA request that we had put in.
So I need to know what document you're referring to.
It's a personnel action.
Yeah, so my recollection is it was hired, the individual was hired before then.
Okay. Okay, well then for my next question,
it may be a processing thing, you know, I don't know, but I do know that we made the decision to hire the person because I was involved with Phyllis in hiring that individual. So it may be a process thing. I'm not sure.
Okay, so to clarify, you said that you did the interview a year ago and that this person was not just hired last week.
No, it was not hired last week. It was hired before that date.
Okay. Well, yeah, so Adelu, the policy director, Carlo Branch, had spent, it was actually at the grocery store when he called Friday, and the discussion was that the governor had put in a piece of paper, a request, I think in February. But, I mean, anybody who works for the government of Guam, it's common knowledge, bro. You can put in a request, you can put in an application, but it don't matter until DOA says you exist, which is basic, and so anyway, he just kept going on and on and on, and I was like, look, dude, why don't you just call the show on Monday and defend what the governor said? I mean, clearly the governor really believes that this woman was hired, in February when she clearly was not hired in February, when she was clearly working for the Department of Education in February, when it is clear that she resigned from her Department of Education job on April 10th. So I don't know. Can somebody be two places at the same time? I mean, was she like working for the governor and doing all those wonderful things the governor said? Or was she working for Department of Education? And the question I have is, does the governor just not know?
No.
I mean, how do you guys send your principal out there? How are you guys continuously sending the governor out with bad information? How do you guys do that to your governor, our governor? How do you send her out here with just the wrong stuff? And then you put her in this position where the questions are just coming at her. And so we got the document. Joe, did you show the document?
He showed it.
Okay, he showed it. So I think we're done with that part of it. So we got an email here because, you know, clearly what the governor said, I think really resonated with a lot of people because she had said that we hired this political hire, and let's call it what it is. This is an unclassified political position. And these positions are filled as political favors. That's it. That's it. That's it. I mean, does the woman have the background in, I mean, if she was a special education person, of course. Yeah, sure. But we're going to get Ben Servino on to talk about how he went without a deputy. I mean, this deputy position at DISID has not been filled for years. And I'll get you the stats on that. But I wanted to read this letter here that we got on our email. Remember, there's just so many ways to reach out to us. You can message us on Facebook. I put the comments on there. You can message me personally. You can message KUAM News, Instagram. Anyway, email reporters@KUAM.com. Hi, Chris. I caught the governor's response to Adriana's question. Here are some points to consider. DISID has less than 30 employees. Why would they need another administrator rather than planners and program coordinators to go after and manage grants to implement much needed programs? The position for a vocational rehab administrator has been vacant since the late former VRA Albert T. St. Augustine retired and subsequently passed away. It is the VRA who administers the federally mandated vocational rehabilitation services, not the DISID director or deputy director. Only the designated VRA has the authority. This position has been underfilled by a finance officer for several years now. This is a conflict since she, Rita Sotomayor, signs for the authorization expenditure of funds and oversees the certification of funds. Adeloop's policy director, Carlo Branch, should have insight into the need for PCs at DISID and DVR since PC4s have not been replaced since Joseph Branch and others retired several years ago. They have only hired 2 new PCIs and only within the past 2 years. Important to note that since DVR is a federal program, its staffing is 80% federally funded. This does not apply to DISID staff, only Guam DVR. There's so much more to this. DISID itself has 1 director, 1 deputy director, 4 social workers, 1 or 2 receptionists, and possibly 1 accountant. Get rid of the directors, move DISID only staff, not DVR, to DVHSS, and then they go on to some ideas that they have about. And then they go on to say in closing, DISID DVR occupies the 6th floor and part of the 7th floor of the DNA building for less than 30 employees. So much more going on here. We'll be glad to answer any questions. Esta, keep up the investigative reporting, KUAM. Yeah, we'll definitely be sending you some questions. So, let's bring on Primo Ben Servino. Just to, you are my prim through the Tenorio side, just so everybody knows. But more importantly, you were a director over at DISID under the Cabo Tenorio administration. I guess, first of all, Ben, we want to ask you to respond to the letter that we read. What do you make of this argument that, $80,000 on a political hire for a non-essential agency that has been closed? That's the other thing. This agency has been closed. So they bring on this deputy, And then she immediately goes to work at the quarantine facilities where she's now getting another 15% on top of her deputy director's salary.
The director's over there, too.
And the director's over there, too. So if you guys are trying to get a hold of DISID, they're all over. Because I tried to call Friday. Ben, I tried to call DISID. Nobody answered the phone. Nobody answered the phone.
Because it's non-essential.
Because it's non-essential, but apparently it's essential enough to do somebody a favor. So, Ben, just on the letter, we'll start there, and then we'll kind of unpack your thoughts on the whole situation. What did you make of the letter and the criticisms that it pointed out that that money could have been better used to hire people who actually do the things that the governor was saying they needed people to do?
Sure, Chris. DISID is the single point of entry entity and agency here in Guam for any employment or support services. The letter or the email that you received was right on point. There's two administrators. There's an administrator for the Division of Voc Rehab and an administrator for the Division of Support Services. Those are all classified positions. They are the responsible authority for ensuring all the operations and activities are implemented within these two divisions. I'd rather see a position like that filled and program coordinators filled, because they're the ones that are going to be there after the new administration changes. Every time they have a new director, every time they have a new administration, they come and go. We need classified individuals that are there to, again, sustain the agency, keep that momentum, keep that continuity. When I first was offered the position, I was in California in January. I retired from the state of California in the university. And I was offered the position. I came to Guam and left my family there. I paid for my own trips. I accepted a $30,000 decrease in salary from my previous job. And, I wasn't, again, started when I arrived in February. I have to wait till I go through the whole process of going through the drug, process, getting that gone. And the implementation date actually occurred later on after I passed the drug test. So it's an ongoing process. And throughout my tenure there, I was actually trying to reform the agency because we were under a receivership when I first came. There were a lot of problems, a lot of concerns. I was always addressing concerns from clients, complaints from clients, complaints from parents, complaints from service providers. There was so much chaos in the organization, especially with the receivership, because the people that were in the helm for the receivership didn't really know what the law says about the Rehab Act and the requirements under the Rehab Act. I even had to fly to Washington, D.C. to explain to the feds that these receivers are not federal employees. They were appointed by the courts. And they were all confused. They thought they were federal employees. And I explained to them the situation here in Guam. So, they understood what was happening. And we do have two consuls under the rehab program, the state council in rehab and the state independent living council. And I have to work with these two entities because they're composed of individuals with disabilities, family members, clients, and agency representatives. And, trying to get them back on track under the mandate of the Rehab Act was quite a challenge. So I spent the majority of my time trying to resolve problems and issues within the agency and trying to fill the positions of the administrators because, of course, like the letter said, the former administrator, Albert St. Augustine, had resigned, and then he eventually passed away. He was the administrator for Voc Rehab, and the administrator for the support services was Helena Kubo, and she also passed away.
Ben, I got to ask you, how much were you paid as the director of DISID?
I was paid around $76,000.
So you mean to tell me this deputy director that we just hired in the midst of a pandemic to go make 15% over at the hotel quarantine is making more than you made as the director of the agency?
That's correct. And that's what really astounds me and, actually kind of disappointed me. It was sort of like an insult to me. So all the hard work I've been doing there, as the director, an acting deputy. We didn't even have a deputy. When I came in, there wasn't a budget for a deputy director. And at that point in time, when I came in, the government was broke. I mean, we were struggling to try to keep the government afloat. So I didn't push the issue of hiring a deputy. There was a former deputy before I came. His name is Greg Calvo, under Rosada's administration.
So this is, I got a note here from one of my sources. November 2005, Greg Calvo was picked up as the deputy director of DICID and then resigned on June 2008 as the deputy director of admin under DICID. So from what we're seeing, the last time this deputy position was filled was in 2008. I mean, that's what all the information that we got. So, I mean, in your mind, was there a need to fill this position?
No, I really don't think so, even though I had have to travel off island to Washington, D.C. to meet with the federal grantors. I usually appointed either the administrators as acting on my behalf. So we really I didn't feel a need to hire a deputy. And our staff, we only had like 30 people when I came in. We're now down to less than 20 when I left. So I really didn't see the sense of hiring a deputy. I think it was more important we hired the administrators and program coordinators. And that was my goal. That was my focus, because they're going to provide, again, that continuity within the agency.
Do you know if currently there are administrators for those two divisions?
I don't believe so. I don't think so. I haven't heard of any, and that's why I was shocked when I heard the deputy was hired, and I never heard of any administrator being hired. And I'm saying, wow, that really shocked me.
I mean, well, who knows? Maybe in the hiring of this deputy, there wouldn't be the need to hire for those administrators, if that would be this individual's responsibility.
But again, like the letter stated, the deputy cannot administrate the VR program. That's a federally funded program, and the law is very specific about that. The delegable duties of that authority lies on the VR administrator. The VR administrator is responsible for that division.
So,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Ben. Yeah, we got it.
Not the deputy. I really don't think the deputy has any responsibility there, and the feds probably wouldn't recognize them unless they, of course. They recognized me because I have a master's degree in rehabilitation counseling and folk rehab. So they accepted me to take on the helm temporarily till we could fill that position, because I've been there. I used to be a client of VR.
Right.
Now I got my master's degree in rehabilitation counseling. So the feds, when I met with them, they were accepting of that, until we filled that position.
Ben, we have a minute here, and I just wanted to close by, as we're up against the top of the hour.
Okay.
I know you heard the governor's soundbite. The things that she said in there about the justification for hiring this deputy director. What would your message be to the governor in response to that, and what she had to say about the hiring of this deputy?
Again, as I stated earlier, I'm really shocked that the deputy was hired. I really wish the governor had focused on ensuring that an administrator was hired for VR and support services. We need more counselors too. Folk rehab counselors, and we need more social workers, and that's where the really true need is at, not in the higher level of directorship in the bureaucracy.
Well, thank you, Ben.
Thanks, Ben.
We got your number. It was really good to bring you on to provide that perspective.
You're welcome. I'm happy to be here.
And watch the road. It's wet, and wash your hands.
All righty.
Okay, Ben.
Mask. Thank you.
Está.
Adios.
Bye.
Hey, it's 8 o'clock. We're KUAM-FM. I got in Guam. We take a little break. And coming up, we're going to do some news. We're also going to hear from Dave De La Sola from the Department of Labor, and Lieutenant Governor Josh Tenorio just checked in. He'll be calling in a few minutes here. It's 8 o'clock. Again, containing COVID, the KUAM News takeover of Guam's favorite Good Morning.
Keeping you informed, KUAM News brings you Banking 671, brought to you by the Bank of Guam, the People's Bank, and Coast 360 Federal Credit Union. Together, we thrive.
KUAM News COVID-19 Takeover on I-94 FM is presented locally by Ambrose Inc.
Metal signs, window and door wraps. GU Self Storage, conveniently located located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information.
With the new challenges we're all facing, First Hawaiian Bank wants to make sure you have access to your financial world. With FHB Online and our mobile app, we hope to make banking the least of your worries. Visit fhb.com/digital.
For only $5. Or if you want biggie value, $8 gets you double spaghetti, large fries, and a 42-ounce drink. Hearty meat sauce spaghetti combos at Wendy's. Now that's better.
Now more than ever, we all need to lean on people we can trust. At Calvo's Insurance, we've been protecting your property and health for more than 80 years. During this time, a lot has changed, but nothing
Be
more
informed
dramatic
with
than the crisis
ITD.
we're experiencing today. As we all work together to keep Guam safe and healthy, let's remember to thank those who are fighting to protect our health and our way of life. Your health is what matters most. So please stay home, stay safe, and lend a hand where needed. We're in this together, Guam, and your Calvo's Insurance team is here for you.
Be healthy. Be informed with ITD.
A 1-hour special honoring America's high school seniors on ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, Facebook, YouTube, and more. Let's gather with family and loved ones to celebrate the graduating class of 2020. Graduate together.
Watch it on Guam, Sunday, May 17th on TV8 at 7 p.m. and 8 p.m. on TV11.
Join us in saluting those healthcare, emergency, essential workers, and wellness warriors serving our community during this unprecedented crisis. Every Wednesday on KUAM News Instagram social media platform. These weekly posts will feature profiles from Guamanians making a difference on our island home. Frontline Heroes is presented to you by Docomo Pacific. Stand apart so we can rise together. Docomo Pacific, better together.
Now is not the time for us versus them.
GMH Administrator Lillian.
University of Guam, Dean of Nursing, Margaret.
There is light at the end of the tunnel.
Help is on the way from a marine medical.
Out in the public, where all are more exposed.
585 have tested positive.
Be healthy. Be informed with ITD.
P-Core 2, KUAM-FM, Aganya, 808. We're doing news real quick, and then Lieutenant Governor Josh Norrie up on the show.
Okay.
With a dive into our day's COVID-19 headlines, Sabrina Salzman-Tanani, good morning.
Hafaday, good morning, everyone. The number of confirmed COVID cases for Guam remains at 151, 5 deaths, and 124 recoveries. On Saturday, 17 people were tested, 0 returned positive. Public Health's lab was closed Sunday, so no tests were run. Although on Sunday, Guam went into Pandemic Condition of Readiness 2, or P-Core 2, all social gatherings will be limited to 10 people. All Gov Guam beaches remain closed except for individual use. Businesses are no longer restricted to selling only essential items, and Gov Guam remains operating but in a limited capacity. Island residents are urged to continue to practice safety precautions such as maintaining social distancing of 6 feet, wearing a face mask, practice good hygiene, washing your hands, using hand sanitizers, practice routine cleaning and disinfecting of frequently touched areas, and stay home if you're sick. The Guam Department of Labor has received approval of its initial increment of funds in the amount of $276 million toward the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program and Federal Pandemic Unemployment Compensation Program. The U.S. Department of Labor intends to provide the federal PUA and FPUC funds to Guam in increments, with the initial increment to be received this week. As funding is expended, the federal government will provide additional increments to ensure benefits can be paid. The PUA program provides up to $345 to qualified individuals through the end of December, and the FPUC program provides an additional $600 to those that qualify for PUA through the end of July. Benefits may be retroactive to the end of January, depending on the circumstances of each individual. DOL will release additional details shortly. Guam DOL, in the meantime, continues to finalize its online application portal to promote social distancing in addition to telephone and appointment-based options. An entire physical operations and call center will be opened for the submission, adjudication, and processing of applicants and to answer questions about this new to Guam program. Employers and businesses are urged to register on hireguam.com as soon as possible. Once verified, employers can input data on employees affected by the COVID-19 crisis. KUAM has confirmed there are more directors and deputy directors who are pulling shifts at the government's quarantine facility. They are Guam EPA Administrator Walter Leon Guerrero, Department of Labor Deputy Director Gerard Tovis, DLM Director Joseph Borja, DPW Director Jess Garcia, Bureau of Statistics and Plans Deputy Matt Santos, GIAA Executive Deputy Manager John Canetta. As a report also assigned there are Lazia Casil of the Hagatna Restoration and Redevelopment Authority, Guam Developmental Disabilities Council Director Jermaine Alerta, DISID Director Phyllis Leon Guerrero and her deputy, DYA Director Melanie Brennan and her deputy Crisinda Uggan, Parks and Recs Deputy Director Victor Villagomez, CLTC Administrator Jack Hattick, and Department of Agriculture Deputy Director Adrian Cruz. Well, they are on rotation, manning the facility 24/7 and staying at the Pac Star are Guam Energy Office Director Rebecca Respicio and Guam Housing Corporation President Alice Tyron. All of these directors and other GovGuam staffers will be paid 15% differential pay under the governor's COVID-19 response pay policy. Their responsibilities include keeping records, delivering meals, and handling all the needs of quarantine passengers. As the Guam Federation of Teachers prepares to file a lawsuit against the governor related to the double pay issue, the GFT is inviting all essential employees and COVID heroes seeking to be paid properly for the work they performed during the pandemic crisis to call them starting today at 735-4390. That is 735-4390 if they would like more information and to serve as plaintiffs in the litigation. As reported, the Leon Guerrero Tenorio administration has said it will not pay double pay to essential workers because the government cannot afford it. The governor, during a press conference, was asked for a reaction to the GFT's pending lawsuit.
Our position is that, first of all,
So how do you justify?
Our position is that, first of all, the people that are working are already getting differential pay. So if I was going to say we need to compensate our people for the risk that they are incurring as a result of the COVID and they're out there in the community, we have this differential pay to help with that compensation. Additionally, the double pay, as I understand it, really goes into play if the people that are at home are on administrative leave, but they are not on administrative leave. They are on regular work, because we have to make sure that if we need them and we give them a 2-hour pre-warning of coming to work, that they come to work. If they are on administrative leave, we cannot really interfere with that administrative leave. So double pay and administrative leave sort of kind of go hand in hand. I am not supportive of the double pay because we already have the differential pay that we are giving to compensate for these individuals. And most especially, Kevin, double pay, I cannot afford it. I cannot afford to pay double pay and differential. So it's more a issue of fiscal responsibility. I think it's also an issue of what is it that we can afford. And frankly,
Double pay, it would total about $36 million, and if forced to pay that out, it could lead to furloughs. It marked the first time Public Health Director Linda Mpingo Dunorsi spoke in public about allegations that her digital signature may have been used on a document related to the procurement of the Pacific Star as a quarantine isolation facility. Here's a clip from an oversight hearing held at the Guam legislature.
Do you have any role in the procurement of quarantine facilities?
I don't. I know my power is here. That is possible, but I have not done any procurement with the with those. No.
All right, and then if we could just dispose of this also, the is your signature required on contracts for the quarantine facilities?
As far as I know, the only thing that I want to say that I have not done any signatures in any of the contract facilities, no. But is my signature required according to the law? From what I'm reading, I guess the power relies on that part, but I'm not involved in it.
All right. Was your signature used without your consent on one of these procurement documents for quarantine facilities?
It was not a procurement document from what I know. It was from what I was looking at after I went to examine. It was for the letter for non-congregate shelters. And that is for isolation and quarantine facilities. So it's just a letter that had to be done so that we can bring that letter, so that we can get it up to Homeland Security, so that they can do the letter that is required by a public health entity, such as myself.
So are you satisfied that your authority is not being breached by unauthorized use of your signature?
My authority is just what I told you. The letter that was presented was for non-congregate shelters. And that was all in accordance to the citation of whatever law that was.
So are you saying you relinquished that public health authority, or you're not the person dealing with the facility leases?
I'm not the person that deals with the facility leases in this particular COVID-19.
Just going back to that contract again, I just want to be specifically clear in my mind. Director, did you authorize anyone in the governor's legal office to use your signature on March 18 designation letters to the hotels, please?
At the time, usually when I have my electronic signature, it is they call me, and so when they call me, they will ask what information needs to be released, and so when they did that, for that, the one they were talking about was the letters for the congregate shelter. It was just a letter that says the use of the properties, right, for the isolation and quarantine. At the time I got the call, I don't recall the call. However, as I mentioned earlier, it was a time where I don't recall the call, and that's the truth that I want to share.
During the oversight hearing, senators read Guam law, giving DeNorsey, who is Guam's public health authority, special powers when a public health emergency is declared. Those special powers include access to control of facilities and properties, use of healthcare facilities, control of materials, roads, and public areas. As public health authority, she also has special powers to not only quarantine and isolate individuals, but also to establish and maintain those facilities, including procurement. Beginning today, the Northern Court satellite in Dededo expands its services for certain businesses, specifically for people who may not have internet access or can't conduct business-related transactions online. Starting today, you will be able to conduct necessary transactions in person at the court from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Monday through Friday. Those transactions include payment of traffic citations, payment of case-related obligations, including bail, restitution, and fines and fees, and requests for traffic and court clearances. Today is also the first day to file candidate packets for the primary election at the GEC. The positions up for election are mayor, vice mayor, senator, delegate to the U.S. House of Representatives, and public auditor. You can file anytime between 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. Monday through Friday until Tuesday, June 30th. GEC asks, however, that you stay home if you're sick. Social distancing will be enforced. All individuals must wear face masks that adhere to CDC guidelines. A 67-year-old Guam resident who traveled from Guam to Saipan on Saturday tested positive for COVID-19. According to a press release from the CNMI office of the governor, the individual was identified through the Saipan airport surveillance process. The 67-year-old man was screened and tested upon arrival. He is now being isolated at the designated isolation facility at Kanoa Resort. Contact tracing has begun for close contacts, including other passengers aboard the flight. The case was determined to meet the criteria for PUI. The total number of confirmed COVID-19 cases in the CNMI is now 16. In national news, the number of coronavirus cases have passed the 4 million mark. About one-third of the more than 77,000 reported U.S. coronavirus deaths have happened in New York State. Now the governor is addressing a new ailment in children that may be related to COVID. Dana Baucus has the latest.
New York Governor Andrew Cuomo spoke about a mysterious illness that has now taken the lives of 3 children in the state.
Toddler elementary school children are presenting symptoms similar to Kawasaki disease or toxic shock-like syndrome.
Cuomo says the ailment affects children's blood vessels and potentially the heart. It does not appear to attack the respiratory system. But the state health department is studying 73 cases in which children with the syndrome have COVID-19 antibodies or test positive for the coronavirus.
This is the last thing that we need at this time with all that's going on.
New York, the nation's hardest hit state, has not started easing stay-at-home restrictions. The rules are set to expire Friday, with plans to gradually reopen businesses in some areas. Open Up Kansas protesters rallied near the State House in Topeka Saturday.
Every job is essential.
Governor Laura Kelly's phased reopening plan took effect on Monday. In parts of western Pennsylvania, retail businesses opened their doors on Friday, giving shoppers a chance to support local businesses.
They know you by name, they know your style, they know, so, I mean, it's important, just having that interaction.
In Tennessee, residents took advantage of this weekend's partial reopening of the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. And in Ocean City, Maryland, the chilly temperatures didn't deter dozens of people from lining up for boardwalk treats at the reopened beaches. Danya Backus, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Dr. Anthony Fauci says he is going to do a modified quarantine after being exposed to a White House staffer who tested positive for the coronavirus. Dr. Fauci, a member of the task force, is considered low risk and tested negative Friday. He said he will stay home, telework, and wear a mask for 14 days, but may go into his office and be the only person there. And finally, in your Banking 671 report, the stimulus checks, they're being placed in the mail. Residents are able to cash them at various banks, even if you're not a member. They include Bank of Guam, Bank of Hawaii, Bank Pacific, and First Hawaiian Bank. And that is your Banking 671 tip from the Bank of Guam and Coast 360.
All right, thank you very much. Serena Salas-Matanani with the latest on COVID-19, 823. Let's get Lieutenant Governor Josh Tenorio onto the show, where he is a regular with a weekly check-in. Sometimes, depending on the schedule, it happens on Monday, sometimes on Tuesday. So thank you definitely, LT, for giving us your time this morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And happy belated Mother's Day, Sabrina.
Oh, thank you. How was your Mother's Day?
Well, I dropped off, or I had some donuts dropped off to my mom. My mom, I don't know if I should be, she's not, she kind of fell, so her mobility is a little challenged. But even though we're allowed to do gatherings, 10 people less, she's high comorbidity issues, and I just want to keep her safe from me, because since I see more people on, it's kind of strange, but if, what can we say?
It's not really strange, Lieutenant Governor, because I think a lot of people feel that even though we are in PCOR 2 and there's been lifting of some of and relaxing of some of the restrictions, a lot of people feel like, I'm just going to stay over here in PCOR 1.
Yeah, no, I think that it's safe. Actually, and that's what I really wanted to talk about today is this is a critical time. The next 2 weeks, now that the governor has released some restrictions, we're going to be tracking and monitoring and seeing whether or not the community spread will grow based on the people interacting. And hopefully, if people wear their masks and continue to be smart and practice prevention measures on themselves, hopefully we can make more progress. But it is, I would say, the next week to 2 weeks, really close monitoring to see where we're at and to make sure that the medical response that we have is going to be adequate based on the numbers that may potentially come in. A lot of things in the air, but I'm confident that the medical response is going to be there. We just have to be very measured, since we were prior to COVID, we already have a lot of sick people on the island that get regular medical care or require medical care.
Mm-hmm. Just for clarification on moving to PCOR 3, I know we just went into PCOR 2 on Sunday.
Mm-hmm. Yesterday.
Yeah. So is it 28 days before we can officially go into PCOR 3 based on whether or not, we continue to hold down the 4 triggers?
Yes, but that doesn't mean that there can't be more things that open during the PCOR 2 posture that we're in. But yeah, that's generally speaking that is correct. And that has to do a lot with the amount of time that an infection can occur, bridge to amount of time that a hospitalization might occur, and keeping daily track on numbers in the hospital, and that kind of activity. Those are all key things that will be tracked all the time.
LT, I think we just should get right into this issue of the hiring of the unclassified deputy director over at DISID. What are you tracking on this situation, and what would your response be to it? I know we heard the response from the governor, but I think in our show this morning we kind of discounted her recollection of events. So, I mean, I don't know if you got that.
Okay,
Go ahead.
there's a deputy director had been in the works for quite some time, and I know that the governor and the director went and interviewed 3 candidates, all of them. Part of it is there's a significant amount of federal funds that for years have remained unexpended because of I guess I would say underperformance of the voc rehab side of DISIT. And so I think that the governor's movement is to try and push in additional resources into DISIT to try and expand services. And all of that was in transit. In fact, I think that Michelle Orr had already quit Department of Education, and then the COVID happened, and in transit to joining the agency. So that's pretty much the story on that.
So I know that Mr. Servino was mentioning that there were administrators that are federally funded for like the voc rehab and then one other division. Do you know if those vacancies were filled?
We've been trying to fill them for quite some time, and there are some gaps. There's some excellent candidates on island, but they might be lacking in one area. He had voc rehab administrator vacant during his entire tenure. In fact, I think he was utilizing part of those funds to pay for their, in the administration. So it's been long time void, which is why I'm saying it's been a long time underperformer of returning Fed funds and really trying to get the gaps and increase the service. So if you're an individual with a disability, DISIT is there to try and understand how they could apply and put you in a good training program so that you're able, the goal is for you to get into the workforce. And everybody, depending on their disability and their mobility, has gaps. Part of it too is there's some nonprofits and companies that employ disabled folks that are sanctioned through a federal process that are working on base, like ICANN, for example. Those are the kind of processes that we'd like to see applied in Guam to try and get people back. There's different things. Like I met with a group of, I would say about 20 individuals with that lack vision. They're blind, and they have been long complaining about, the connections to services. Some of them were sent in previous years to go and get training on mobility, but in an urban area. We live in a different setting, right? We don't have, unless you're going to be walking around in Agania, there are other challenges that blind people have, for example. So they exist to try and get people resources so that they can lead their lives independently as much as possible. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of like
but you can understand why people might be concerned that we're hiring during this COVID crisis, whether or not we forgot that, I spoke with this person and interviewed them last year or whenever
what I'm saying
was.
is the deputy director of DISIT, both the director and deputy were recruited from Department of Education. They're educators, they're experts in disabilities, and I feel strongly that this is positive for the individuals with disability, that community, because there have been a lack of professionals and attention for that population. So I would, I guess I'll say I'll fully go in and say that this is a critical position. In the height of a public health emergency, yes, it is a non-essential agency because everybody has been staying home. But now as we unveil services and we try and work towards the economic side of things, this is going to be an area that you need to spend time so people are not forgetting in the disability community.
Right, but they're not spending time at DISIT because, like you said, it's a non-essential agency and it's closed. And what they're doing is they're over there at the PACSTAR with a whole bunch of other government directors and deputy directors.
Making the salary and then also making the 15%, right?
Well, today the government portions of the government have restarted, and those services are things that are set to reopen and for activity to return.
So DISID is open?
They should be. There's a hotline, and DISID is one of the agencies now.
So the deputy director is going to be answering phones?
I'll find out. But I guess what I'm saying is a director and a deputy director, they're the first person to respond. And so I would just say, listen, this is an educator. This is not some political hack out there. It's somebody that is going to be beneficial for the community that department exists to protect and to advance.
What about this, the deputy position? I don't know if it was funded in the budget act. So was money moved around that could have been used to hire essential staff?
I think she's essential. Where the details of the transaction, I'll have to get for you. Right. But I would say that this is an essential person.
Right. More essential than the other positions that aren't filled, LT?
I think that she's going to be leading in those areas. I mean, I'll get I'll do more digging and stuff, but I have to say I'm familiar with what the reason was for the need for assistance in those areas. Right. I mean, even in behavioral health, where we focused attention, there's been very positive movement. We expect that this should be following suit. That's a priority.
Right. Before you do that, Bree, can I just, LT, so you were on the show, I think it was last week, but you had talked about the procurement that was being handled by the governor's legal counsel, and you had said that it raised red flags. Have you gotten any more new information on that process? And because looking over the emails, my take on it is that the governor's legal counsel wasn't really familiar with how to procure stuff. So in reading the emails that we FOIA'd, it kind of seems like and I don't know if this is before or after or what the timeline of it, but that he had been reaching out to a lot of people saying, hey, can you help me, make all this right? So what is your take on that? And do you still stand by that? And then I guess what would be your response to it?
Well, I guess the question is, do I think that he could have been? How would you restate the question? You're kind of because
Let me just make it simple.
That experience, right?
So you had said that you were concerned that there were some red flags and what you knew about this. So has anything changed since you told us that?
No, I mean, I think that was proper critique about what happened in this transaction, and since then, my expectation is that the folks at all the people with the internal controls at Department of Administration, at the AG's office, at GSA, would continue to do their job, and then in this transaction, basically find a path to make sure that the promise, I guess, to the vendor, because the services have been rendered, are going to be made, and then they find the proper path for them to be compensated, and for the entire record to be available for review and all the times that it must be reviewed, including in the audit phase.
What about the stuff with Linda? I mean, we just played, I know you're on hold, I don't know if you heard the clip.
I heard that.
I mean, it just seems a little off, her response, and that people keep asking her about it, and she seems to be sticking to her story that she doesn't recall the call. Do you recall the call?
I wasn't involved in the call, but she's the only one that would have, received the call. If she didn't recall, then she didn't recall. I would always continue to trust that with her.
Can you recall, as a former GAR, if this was the process that was followed during an emergency situation? Is it the legal counsel that goes out and does procurement and negotiations? Or
I think the difference is that this is a public health emergency, and it looks like there is an emergency purchase that is being done. For the typhoons that I served in, we've had some disputes. I'll give you an example, debris. We did Paka, we did Chataan, we did Pang Sangwa, and each three, the big one was debris removal, and sometimes we would have problems. We contracted all out on PACA and Tetaan. We did it all ourselves, or we assigned it to the Army Corps. Then Pang Sangwa, we did a combination because all three showed, there was some pressure, and there was also, I guess, some lessons to be learned because of the rate and the speed that the people expected the debris to be removed and then to be reduced, and I mean it can get complicated.
When
So
you
it's a
say
little
we,
different.
though, who are you talking about? The civil defense?
Yeah, so for we back during my time, it's we as civil defense, GSA, and the AG's office.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so in this particular instance, it wouldn't be the same because it's a public health emergency, and
Well, in
there's
this
all these
case,
special powers that are given to the public health authority that really.
I think that's one, and then the other thing is with the typhoon, it hits. You're not really sure what happens, but the debris. Sometimes people were mad because the debris took 3 weeks or a month to clear, and they were very mad. But when it was removed, they were fine. On this one, I think it's you made a decision to shut down basically inbound travel and quarantine everybody, and it's not, the schedules are firm with the airlines, and you need to act fast to try and put them into a quarantine. That's what I can observe in this situation.
Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, does the GAR have to sign off on all these contracts and MOUs?
Well, the GAR is going to be involved during the process in which you get a claim or you assert a claim for reimbursement from FEMA. That's when the GAR gets into the picture.
And this is something that we would have to go after for reimbursement. And
always, FEMA's always, the way the FEMA process is you push down some funds and then you ask for a reimbursement. And then based on what is approved and the severity of the amount, the default cost share is 75% feds, 25% local, then it can escalate to 90-10, or in some of the big disasters in the past, 100% covered. But still, there had to be local capital outlay first before the feds came in. The feds don't normally act first. They wait because they're not able to mobilize as fast. So there's a little different stuff. Like, for example, Army Corps in typhoon disasters, they can get involved in debris management. Here, they're out there taking a look at alternate healthcare facilities and taking a look and seeing whether or not big gyms or hospital ballrooms can be taken online at a point when a crisis is escalated and they need to be there.
Mm-hmm. So having said that, and based on your experience as a GAR, and the way this was handled, do you see FEMA saying, you know what, it's cool, we're going to reimburse this whole show?
And are you guys still moving on that route, LT, or has there been a change from that direction?
I would never presume or predict how FEMA would react because there's always still a bit more in their review process that they'll have to take a look at. And then in terms of what are we tracking, I would say that we'd still be tracking. I'll probably talk to Lester, and the fiscal folks will be the ones to chart the course on which of the relief packages would you be able to access to pay for the expense, what's appropriate.
Who's the GAR now? I'm not sure if we...
Can I just say, guys, GAR is the governor's authorized representative. They signed on behalf of the governor, just in case people listening didn't know.
Right. And so the GAR now is John Calvo, and the alternate GAR now is Bertha Duenas.
Whoa, what happened to Tim Uggan?
I believe that the governor made a decision. Let me verify, but as far as what I was tracking, it's based on taking a look at GAR being a fiduciary agent and wanting to make sure that we have the best folks forward that have that expertise.
Yeah, because I saw the documents, and it was Tony Babalta and it was Tim Uggan as the assistant
So in this
GAR.
phase, it's more appropriate, I think, for Bertha to get involved.
When was that changed?
I believe when we changed the GAR, when the new designation after Tony resigned. I haven't seen the signed form, but that's what my understanding was going to be the decision.
Okay, and all those documents went up to FEMA to co-sign.
Should be.
And I wanted to get back to this.
And I haven't seen those documents, but you guys, I'm a little late for my medical meeting.
Oh, okay. Well, then I'll make a quick.
Go ahead.
I wanted to ask about the government quarantine facility and all the directors and deputy directors that were assigned to the QFAC. Why couldn't the National Guard be assigned there when we are entitled to 100%? I don't know, reimbursement?
Well, I think National Guard is doing perimeter security, and it takes about the National Guard and the way that gets approved. I think there was a beginning date, and I'll have to go back and see what the dates are, because I don't think that the National Guard was authorized at that level at that time. I'll have to find out more details on that assignment.
Mm-hmm. Do you think, though, that was the right decision to put all these directors and deputy directors? I mean, you have almost the entire cabinet up there working. I mean, and DYA director and DYA deputy director, like, don't they have a correctional facility for youth to be running?
I'll have to find out, Bree.
It sounds like that wasn't really your call, LT.
No, it's not. But, maybe what I'd say is those are the first people that will be able to be assigned immediately, understanding there's risk and not wanting to risk others. But, I'll have to get more visibility on that.
Right. And real quickly, the homeless situation.
Right,
I know people are asking about that. Has there been an alternate site, or are we going to still have one?
No, it's still tracking. I'll get an update about that today. I know when I was in a meeting last Friday dealing with nurses, and I want to end about nurses, okay? But I saw Margaret Hattori, who is from UOG, who's in the Homeless Coalition, and she told me that they've been meeting and moving forward towards, doing getting the right response done. So I don't have details yet, but when I do, I'll share them with you for sure.
Last, LT, what about the double pay? The governor came down pretty firm on that, so we can't afford it. And I just feel like a lot of government employees know what they're supposed to be getting. So when you have the governor saying, why would you want double pay when we have a 25%? You're already getting the 25%. It's not really jiving well with a lot of them. So what would your message be to those government employees who are on the verge of filing a lawsuit because they're not getting the pay they believe they're entitled to?
Well, I first say that to the government employees that are out there, I would just want to first thank them for being out there and being the public servants that they are, the public service professionals. There is a dispute about this double pay and whether or not it was applicable during this period of time. This is a long period of emergency. A public health crisis is different than a typhoon. Recovery, there's a finite time for the end of a response and the beginning of recovery, and here it's happening at the same time. And so there are fiscal implications, and I just say that, we're doing the best we can to give them proper compensation and to be very balanced, and understanding too that, this is a critical time. But I just say thank you. And then the nurses, I'd like to thank them. It was Nurses Week last week. A lot of nurses out there doing excellent work, and I also want to thank them.
All right.
Okay, LT.
Thanks, Josh.
All right, thanks, guys.
Governor.
We'll see you.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
wash your hands.
Bye-bye.
All right. Well, I would just say that if you want to thank the nurses, maybe give them the pay they're thinking that they should get.
They got roses, I saw. They delivered roses to the nurses.
They get any Godiva chocolate?
Oh, no.
There you go, Lieutenant Governor Josh Tenorio. Again, a regular on the show. We try and bring him in every week. We've asked numerous times to get the governor, but there's something of a personality thing. I mean, that's all I could say it is, because
I don't know.
I mean,
like
it's cool.
having Josh on. Thanks.
I mean,
Lieutenant
Josh,
Governor.
he'll answer the questions, which is cool. 8:45. We'll take a little bit of a break, and we're coming back with more of the KUAM news. Take over Guam's favorite. It is containing COVID.
Keeping you informed, KUAM News brings you Banking 671, brought to you by the Bank of Guam, the People's Bank, and Coast 360 Federal Credit Union. Together, we thrive.
KUAM News COVID-19 Takeover on I-94 FM is presented locally by Ambrose Inc.
GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information.
With the new challenges we're all facing, First Hawaiian Bank wants to make sure you have access to your financial world. With FHB Online and our mobile app, we hope to make banking the least of your worries. Visit fhb.com/digital.
Be healthy. Be informed with ITD. Be healthy. Be informed with ITD.
Checks out in the timeline, Dave. Good morning.
Yes, good morning. Thanks, Chris, for having me on. I appreciate it. Yes, USDOL accepted our budget, and with some, we went through the implementation plan. They were quite happy with it, and then I had to give them assurances in the next 90 days that we would stand up the rest of the implementation plan and clean it all up, and that they were going to go ahead and release the money to us. So we should be getting it this week sometime. And it'll be the first allotment, and as we draw down on that allotment, they will give us another allotment, and we'll just keep moving forward and with allotments until we finish the program.
Well,
so go ahead, Sabrina.
But from what I understand, employees though can't go in and file applications just yet.
No, not yet.
Okay.
This whole process will be strictly an online application process, just like it's being done all over the nation. and it's going to be no different. So that's what I'm doing now. After this and the Zoom, I'll go back to the software, and we're vetting each line and each page and pulling out what's not needed and trying to make sure that it is as smooth and condensed, because this is a huge package that had unemployment insurance and PUA designed for states, and they are whittling it down for Guam, and that's how they're able to deliver a product within a month and a half instead of 12 to 18 months like most places.
So when do you anticipate that the employee module will be completed so that people can who are affected can apply? Because that needs to be done first, right, before you can cut the checks.
Yes. And we're still running with the vendors and procurement and getting everything. Everything is running in parallel path. I got like 5, 6, 7 things going on, developing and moving. But I'm hoping in a couple weeks, give or take. Okay. It all depends. The program integrity and the software is the crutch of the whole program. If this gets lit up and it runs smoothly and adequately and does what it needs to be done, then the program is just now getting the information in from each claimant and logging in and putting it in. This program will accept from iPhones to Androids to iPads to computers. You can do this all on that. And essentially what I'm asking now, what you should do is try to get your documents in electronic form. Your driver's licenses, your passports, your social security cards, your check stubs, your employee furlough letters, whatever you need to load up that will best validate this claim, then please get it in electronic format, because the next thing you're going to do is apply online. And I'm calling out to all businesses, hotels, restaurants, individuals on this island. This is an island-wide program that is going to need everybody to reach out and help.
Does this application need to be approved by USDOL, or it's good to go?
No, it's good. This program has been already implemented in 7 states, and it's been vetted through USDOL, and that's not only that, but this program also is the same vendor that talks to that designed our Hire Guam and the employer module. So when this program is finished and that they have to, they're still unemployed, their information will shift over to the Hire Guam, and then the AJC will take over, and that's why I'm getting dislocated worker funding, and then we can retrain, re-educate, or help you look for work when you're done with this program. And all that information seamlessly moves between. And that's what's the good thing. And that's why the difficulty in trying to get everything up and running, that I really need to make sure that the program integrity is there.
Right. Dave, so when you said a couple weeks, did you mean that in a couple weeks we'll have the application, or in a couple weeks we'll be sending checks out?
Good question, because there's parts to that. One of the things, while the team is working on vetting the program and getting that up and running, I'm also trying to vet basically pre-application, because the application came out like 15 pages, 14 pages, and was just too voluminous. And so I'm trying to get it down to essential information to organize the claimant to have written down, and in order to, so when they go online, everything is there. All they have to do is just answer questions off the top of their heads, or the call-in, or the processor, whatever it is, or your family friend, or your business who's going to help you apply online. I'm telling you. So I'm trying to get that out, and I'm hoping to get that out this week if everything goes well. Then the online will go up and run, and then once the people start doing it online, we can start to see what kinks, what problems, what tweaks in the software, and we can make those adjustments. And when it's online, I'm training the staff that we brought on and detailed to start get trained up so that we can start the processing center and start accepting call-ins and walk-ins and and start that side of the application process too. So all things are going on at the same time. And also, we're still tweaking the implementation plan, because that was one of the agreement, is that they were very impressed with the implementation plan, but of course we haven't fully implemented the program, so there was holes that need to be filled in and processed. So we're doing that as quickly as possible, getting the procurements, getting the equipment and supplies, getting everything in line. There's so many, it's so complicated, but we're doing it, and I'm going to get this done. And it's going to be done as quickly as possible, and it may not be the best and the most solid, because it wasn't from the ground up, but it will do what I'm hoping that it will do, and we can get everybody application in and start processing and getting that money out.
Okay, Dave, I know you got that 9 o'clock Zoom, so thanks for the update, man. Is there anything else in closing you want to add?
Just get your documents up, and please, Island people, businesses, help us get your friends, employees, and families to do it online, so they can all get the money out as quickly as possible. Thank you, Chris and Sabrina. I really appreciate you guys getting this word out and helping me do your part to get the information and get these people up and running. I will feed you more when I have more time.
Thank you.
Can you also send us over that video that DOL?
I got it.
You got it? Okay. Yeah, we'll post that.
Yeah,
thank you, Dave.
All right.
Okay, wash your hands.
Guys.
Okay, so 8:58. Of course, Labor Director Dave De La Sola. Yeah, let me send you that.
Yeah, we could actually post that because it's like a FAQ, right?
Right.
And a lot of people have been asking about this FPUA. We just love saying that. FPUA.
It sounds like a pickup line. Right.
Don't.
Okay, I won't.
Okay, don't.
Thank you. It's 8:58.
We have a joke, so
we do.
No.
It's just our joke, though. It's like the governor said, inside joke.
Yeah.
8:58. It's the 11th day of May, Monday. We're coming back with Speaker Tina Munia Barnes right here on Containing COVID. Good morning.
During the
Keeping you informed, KUAM News brings you Banking 671, brought to you by the Bank of Guam, the People's Bank, and Coast 360 Federal Credit Union. Together, we thrive.
KUAM News COVID-19 Takeover on I-94 FM is presented locally by Ambrose Inc.
GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information.
With the new challenges we're all facing, First Hawaiian Bank wants to make sure you have access to your financial world. With FHB Online and our mobile app, we hope to make banking the least of your worries. Visit fhb.com/digital.
Be healthy. Be informed with ITD.
Hey, thank you guys. There's so many ways to contain COVID as we are now in PCOR 2 and 902. Of course, I-94, our Facebook live stream. Thank you guys so much for all your questions, comments, compliments, and concerns. Also on the KUAM News mobile app, there's an audio stream on Docomo Pacific Channel 10, and we're on the TV now, KUAM TV 11 at 9:01. Coming up, we end this hour and the show with a good note. We'll tell you about some people who are doing some great things, trying to get donations, and how you can help this week. 9:02 now. Let's go to the phones again, 637-0094. Hey, we'd also, of course, like to hear from you guys all the time. That's the number, 637-0094. Speaker Tina Munoz Barnes. Good morning, Madam Speaker.
Manana Susos, and good morning, Chris. Are you with Sabrina this morning?
Yes.
I'm always with Sabrina.
Unfortunately.
Wow, thanks.
I'm just kidding.
Well, I just want to say good morning and happy belated Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. It was such a blessing to have to go to Mass with my kids and then just have a quiet dinner with my 3 children and my grandson, my 2 grandsons that are here. So I have a couple that are off island, but I pray for them every day. But I'm just grateful to be alive and to be here. So I thank God for the many blessings.
Amen.
Which Mother's Day, Bree.
Speaker, how was you said you went to church? Which one? How was that?
I did not go to the the outside. I stayed home with my family. And
So you were in the kitchen cathedral.
I was in the kitchen cathedral, and it was really good to have breakfast with my mom and her listening to the Mass.
Oh, that's good.
She's slowing down in age, but her mind is still very sharp, and she's such a beautiful lady.
We wanted to bring you on to talk about this.
The information.
There's a lot.
Right, there was just a lot of stuff here.
Yes, there is, and you know what, Chris and Sabrina, really important as Oversight Chair of Public Accountability. We had sent this request for an information briefing out because we continue as a policy team go out there and get the information that is happening. We work with the weekly briefings with the White House. We send letters out to the policymakers. I've been working with speakers around the nation to see what we can do to bring more resources to our government. And more importantly, when I receive information from them and supporting documents of how they're assisting on Guam, really important that the community has a better understanding of what is being provided for Guam as it relates to stimulus packages, as it relates to grant programs, as it relates to how are we going to get this funding to our community. And I must share that with everybody in the government who's doing their part to apply for these grants, to apply for these federal programs, to work with Department of Labor, with Small Business Administration, with the IRS, with just, everything from FEMA to FDA. I think it's important that the people have a better understanding because I don't know if you guys have been an influx with a lot of questions from the middle class community, but everyone was saying, we take care of those that are most vulnerable, and of course, those that are well off, they can help and fend for themselves. But what about those who literally have, in the middle class arena, having to had, whether they have been displaced, furloughed, temporarily let go from their jobs, what programs are there that exist today? And I want to share with you that as we look at one of the successful programs with the PPP, working it was the banks and Department of Labor and just Revenue Tax working together to bring that component out and having it affect 1,500 businesses, but more importantly, to bring out over $186 million of federal resources to our island. That's got to be a plus. But there's so much more that's happening, Chris and Sabrina, and I know that I'm talking really fast, but I want to say that the information that the Trump administration has shared with us was literally providing almost $736 million to Guam between January and December. That doesn't even include the unemployment with the PUA or with the FPUC, which is the federal compensation pandemic compensation component, and even the EIDL, and then of course we've got the stimulus that just got received funding for Guam after this long wait, even if we were the first ones to apply. So this is why it is important that as Oversight Chair of Public Accountability, I think it's important that we have a venue working with the administration to show that all these programs that are out there that have come to Guam, this is what we need to show the community of what we have.
Right.
I'm telling you.
That Trump breakdown that we received, as you know, and you also provided it to the media. We got that after we saw that breakdown from the governor's office on where they plan on spending the $118 million CARES Act funding. Were you aware prior to that, before the budget breakdown came out, about all this money, this $700 million that was out there that we are getting or have received?
Bree, I want to share with you on that. As soon as we got the information, we sent it out right away. When I have briefings with the governor, if I have briefings with the White House, weekly briefings, and if I work with National Conference of State Legislators, whatever I do, I take my bullet notes and I send it out to our policy colleagues, and I share whatever I get. And I think with a lot of the information, either overload or lack of sharing the information in a simplistic form, because it can get very complicated. Having to apply for all these grants, having to turn in all these documents, even as far as working with the PUA and with the FPUC, it is not easy to keep up with it. You know, FPIC is a component that works closely with the PUA, but also the PPP was one of the first successful programs.
Right. But I just wanted to ask about that breakdown, the Trump administration's breakdown, in comparison to the governor's budget breakdown for the $118 million.
The breakdown is just for the CARES Act.
Right. Then that's what I'm saying, though. It was included in that Trump list. It had the 118 or 117.9, but then you had the budget breakdown that was submitted by the governor's office, and it had like X amount of money for like the airport, when they already got money from FAA, like over 20 million. So why would it be included in this budget breakdown if they got money over here?
And again, based on your concerns or your inquiries.
No, it's not. I'm just observing it, and I didn't know if, like, is this legit? Like, how can we put money over here when we already got money over here in this budget?
And again, it's how do we get whatever resources we have to our folks that are not just vulnerable, but to our middle class economy that have been waiting and have literally been stopped when we look at having other funding source, like you talked about. The airport received somewhere between 22 million, and yet there is a breakdown from the CARES Act that shows an expenditure for some additional funding. And I just want to share with you, like, let me give you another example. HUD has over 2.6 million available to Guam based on the same CARES Act. So how does that all relate into what is being expended today? And I'm going to share with you, Chris and Sabrina, that yes, the governor has the authority to expend these federal funds, but the transparency and the accountability from both the administrative perspective and the legislature is that check and balance. And what we need to do is just have a better understanding of all the millions and millions of dollars that are coming in. Where is it actually going to? How is it actually being expended? And when will this timeline take us to? Like the PPP is probably only ranging between the month of March to the maximum month of July. The SPUC is probably a little of that extension from April to July. And then you have the stimulus and the unemployment will give you all the way up to December. And that's millions and millions of revenues coming in to our island. How do we take all those funds, relate it into our community residents, and then how do we project for the future? And, you know, I must say that the oversight chair on OFB, which is Senator Joseph Augustine, has also been trying to work with the administration to get what is the financial impact. If we're looking at if we're looking at a 53 million shortfall on the impact, how is that going to relate as we move forward with not just the 2020 budget that we're still in right now? How does that relate to the 2021 budget? And then I want to talk about, you know, and when we were looking at this, we realized that there's an opportunity for rent relief. There's an opportunity to work not just with the renters, but also with the landlords. And how do we get those economies? I mean, how do we get those resources into that community of stakeholders who are both the landlord who rent, and then also giving that repeat to those renters that are literally don't have the means right now because their jobs have been interrupted because of this pandemic. And I want to say, Sabrina and Chris, that again, if we bring the information out, we talk about the different federal agencies that are continuing to bring the resources. How do we separate all of that? Who's affected? How is it being expended? And where do we go after the funds are depleted? And we just need to relook at the budget and work with both the administration and, of course, the legislature to make sure that we have a proper accountability and transparency on what needs to be done. And I want to share with you that just recently, the May 4th frequently asked questions was sent to us, and there was by the Treasury, and there were so many questions. Last week's Friday's oversight asked me to ask a couple of questions as it relates to the housing component, and where do we go from here? Also, how does it affect the services that Guam provides, and working closely with the GAR and the questioning of how do we open right away? How do we close these mortgage loans that are needy so people can get into their houses? And how does that affect the government? Because I think for each package that's closed, Guam has, the government and land management has the opportunity to receive a lot of resources that we stopped. And I think according to GAR, it was a shortfall impact of over 24%, or 900 some, or 16%, I'm sorry, from cornerstone evaluations. And as we get those kind of information, Bree and Chris, is how do we put all these things categorically in perspective? How do we share with our community what's out there, and how do we tell them? And please, I want to say that as the agencies continue to do their part, we just need to continue to bring the information out on a daily basis. You and I know that every day is a new day. Every day we get more information, things become more fluent. And what I say to you right now may change based on the information that we get. When we hear the status updates from the federal government, when we hear from the National Conference of State Legislators, when we hear from the intergovernmental affairs of the federal government, working with the Trump administration's core staff, and how they've been working closely with us. And I just want to say that it can't stop until we have the full effect of the millions and millions.
Can't stop, won't stop. Speaker, I want to ask you about the letter the governor sent. She seemed pretty fired up about the override of Bill 333. Can we discuss that a little bit?
You know, Chris, I want to share with you is I'm not an attorney, I'm not an esquire, and I personally cannot give legal advice, but I want to share with you that as your Speaker of the 35th Guam Legislature, the legislature does have an array of powers that to continue to hold our government accountable for. And I want to say that it's events like this informational briefing, when our colleagues have oversight hearings, to try and get answers and to share answers that come our way, so that there truly is a transparency and accountability there. I know that if you get 10 attorneys in a room, you'll probably get 10 different interpretations. But for me, as a policy writer, as your public servant, it's important that the information we receive, that both the legislature needs to be held accountable and transparent, but also the administration needs to be held. And if there's different avenues that we come about to get to where we need to be, the public needs to know. And for me, I just want to say that we can agree to disagree, but let us respect decisions. And if there is some extreme conflict or disagreement of what the interpretation is, there's a third branch of government, which is the judiciary, who can decide who's right or who's not right. But in the effort of making sure that we are held accountable and transparent to what we are doing and the programs that we need to get to our community, this is one positive avenue that we can bring everybody to the same table at the same time. And Bree, you've known me for many, many decades, that I have no problem bringing everybody to the same table, because that's the perspective where you can't say he said or she said this. We have everybody on the same table sharing a perspective, but knowing that if there's any further questions, they can always come back to bring added information or new information that comes our way almost on a daily basis. This is a pandemic nobody asked for, and this is the first time in our lifetime. I never dreamt I would have to be going to something really, really as strenuous and I don't know, like Uncle Roman Canasta said. I never would have wished this on anybody. Out of all the wars that he's been through, this is about the worst that someone could go through, because you can't see it, you can't feel it, and you don't know whether it's going to hit your family or not. And knowing that we've all gone through, some of us have gone through that threat of being affected by this virus, we know that we have to put proper protocols in place and protect our families.
Right, and you know, like you said, that having everybody at the table, but I think that's the issue, that not everybody was at the table in this unprecedented war, in this epic battle. I mean, the legislature wasn't at the table, the mayor's council wasn't at the table,
and Bree, based on all the information that we, as my office has received a lot of the information, we've continued to engage. I want to thank the governor when I approached the opportunity for her to bring the information briefing out and to send down her designees again to talk about all these programs that Guam is going to be receiving or have already received. It was a very positive note, and that's why we're having this briefing, is to make sure that everybody knows what's going on. And you know what? Let's find the positive solutions. Let's take the high road. Let's say, you know what? Even, okay, if I didn't agree with how you were working the process, this is another avenue to look at, saying, this is all the information I have. This is all, I need to gather more information and hear what you guys are doing on your side, because it is the legislature who makes legislation and passes laws, but it is the governor's office, the administration, that has to implement. And if there is a differences of opinion or programming or whatever the differences are, there's always that third branch of government that can determine.
Well, it sounds like you guys are going to take her to court. Is that what you're trying to say?
No, what I'm trying
He's like, because that's the second time you mentioned, you're like, oh, we got this other whole branch of government, the judiciary.
Chris and Sabrina, please. There are different ways we can get the information out to our community. And I want to share with you that in the spirit of Inafamalik, in the spirit of working together for the greater good of our community, whatever differences we have, we need to be able to come together as leaders and share the information so that our people have a better understanding. And if they cannot understand we have to be able to continue to answer every question that comes our way. And what better way is to bring the information out through venues like what we're going to do, through our outer public hearings of having to go through a temporary Zoom, is making that access available so that our community has an understanding that, yes, the government is working, the legislature is working, and we need to look at all the programs that we have received today, and the people need to know what is out there.
All right, Speaker, we got to run, but I just wanted to give you the floor and play a little catch up. And remember, we'll do this every week, okay?
Definitely. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Chris.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Wash your hands, okay?
Good luck at the informational briefing.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, that's Speaker Tina Munia Barnes. We had an interesting comment in here. Where was that? All of a sudden, she's against the administration because election time's coming. And I wanted to bring that point up. And, she calls in weekly. Maybe we'll ask her next time. Because I feel like the Democratic leadership in the Guam legislature, for the most part, has allowed and enabled us to reach this point in their relatively hands-off treatment of the governor. That's kind of why the governor feels empowered. I don't got to tell you guys anything because they've been her go-tos, those votes. And so, is it because there's an election coming? Maybe.
Or it could be that they finally see, there's a lack of transparency.
Yep.
The mayors didn't know what was going on. It's kind of sad, especially when they're called upon every single emergency, whether it's a public health pandemic emergency. An emergency is an emergency. So you would think that you would need their frontliners,
right.
Out there responding and helping the community. They're the ones that are on the ground.
Yeah. So at 9:24, I wanted to bring on Rebecca Respicio. She's one of the managers of the Pacific Star Guam Quarantine and Isolation Facility. And I reached out to her over the weekend because this is one side of the conversation we haven't heard yet.
Mm-hmm.
And no matter what you think about these directors and the COVID differential pay, they were put there at these quarantine and isolation facilities to do a job. And I think what's missing in this conversation, and I'm the last guy to go to bat for, political hires, but I think what's missing in this conversation is what is that job and what does it entail? And then maybe if we understand what these guys are doing, will it help process the fact that they're at these hotels, doing this quarantine ISO. So I guess, Rebecca, good morning. First of all, thanks so much for joining us.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Gosh, the last time we spoke was on my first 2-week departure, right?
Right, yeah. So I guess just first of all, would you agree with that there's a lot of talk going on about this, and I think that a part of it is that it was tainted by the Tony Babauta thing, that it was tainted by the procurement issues that have been raised, and that kind of just, I think, set the stage. And then when people found out, these directors are over there and they're making the COVID differential pay, it kind of, you guys, I'm pretty sure your morale is not in a good place right now, knowing how the public feels. So I just want to give you the floor. And can you tell us what it is you guys are doing there? Because I don't know if it was a misrepresentation or a lack of information from Adelup, but I feel like the policy director, in using the example that, if someone needs towels in the middle of the night, that wasn't the best example, and I'm not sure if there's anything behind the scenes going on here, that, so I just want to get you on and get your take on it, Rebecca.
I really appreciate this opportunity. You're absolutely right. We have been really getting a beating from the community, and, we haven't exactly taken the time to defend ourselves because, honestly, we just are staying focused on the mission. And although what's been happening has, like you said, taken a hit on the morale, honestly, it really hasn't faltered us. We have not felt the need to want to stop doing this or to just, wash our hands of this process. We understand that we were called to execute the governor's executive order, and the mission remains. And everybody's just been kind of helping boost each other up and, telling each other we got to keep doing this. Quarantine is working. The numbers are low. We're able to get those that have come off of a flight that do test positive straight into isolation rather than having them out in the community spreading the virus. So we know that the job that we're doing is working, and we are still staying focused on the mission regardless of the community's punches, and I've taken a personal beating as well as Alice, and our names and our character has been questioned throughout, the community, but all we can do is just continue to do what we're doing and do what we've been called to do from the beginning. So I appreciate this opportunity to, clear the air and educate. And you're right, housekeeping duties is a complete understatement, with regards to the responsibilities that we have. We're not running a hotel, we're running a quarantine facility. So the passengers that come here didn't make a reservation here. Do you know what I mean? They didn't choose to come here. They're mandated to come here. So, we have a list of duties and responsibilities anywhere from, what the communications policy director had said, which is really something as simple as we need more toilet paper and towels, to something like it's 3 a.m, my air conditioning shut down and I need a room change and I'm not happy. And so those are things that we're dealing with, including, including travel arrangements, making sure these people meet their required airport transfers and, English barrier situations where we have to make sure that, the services are met, even though it's hard to communicate.
Rebecca, and then I also wanted to talk, because you didn't mention, and I've spoken to a few of the directors who are staffing these hotels. One of the things they brought up was dealing with irate people who don't want to listen, who don't want to be quarantined, who don't, fully understand the risk of transmission and the risk of exposure. And you guys have had a couple people test positive there at the Pacific Star. So can you kind of speak to that? Because I know that, and I totally see where you're coming from with the response that Carla Branch gave. It was just you should know better than to say, they get people towels at 1 a.m.
Yeah. Well, that was just a general response. And you know what I mean? It wasn't untrue. We have had to do that. But that's like, such a small example. That's such a small example of everything we do. But you're right, Chris and Sabrina. We have been dealing with irate passengers, rightfully so. People, the general consensus, right, is that people shouldn't be traveling at a time like this. But the truth is that people need to get home. People have to come to bury their loved ones. People have to come for medical emergencies, or they have to come home because they have family members that are dying. So I already pre-recognize, and we really talk together as a team and a staff, saying when somebody is irate or unsatisfied or just really mad about this process, there's usually an underlying factor. Because who would generally be mad about not having to pay for a 2-week stay, and you're getting fed? So we know that it may not just be the quarantine process that they're mad at. They're mad because they can't get home to their families fast enough. So, we also deal with emotional needs, and we have to dissect these processes in terms of like, why did they come to Guam at a time like this, or why did they get on a plane and travel during a global pandemic? So we usually we make sure that we understand, like, why are they mad, what's going on in their lives, and a lot of times we're finding out that they lost a loved one, they're here, but they're stuck in quarantine and can't get home. But rightfully so, like, nothing is happening here on the island that is absolutely normal. Like, funerals don't even happen the same way right now. And so we do try to mitigate these processes and calm the passengers down. And just yesterday, I speak to a gentleman who's staying here, and his tone of voice is, he gets really anxious and loud, and it comes off kind of like he's yelling at us and putting us down and screaming at us. But I always have to defer to my previous training in terms of dealing with people and even dealing with those going through, their own internal crises. And then we have to just kind of say, sir, what's really going on? And, why are you upset? What can I do? And then when we have this conversation, it turns out it's not even about us. It's not even about something we did that was wrong.
Right.
It's just something they're going through.
Rebecca, let's just go ahead and address the elephant in the room, the issue of these directors who some feel you guys already have inflated salaries, then earning another 15% of the COVID differential pay. Can you just let's discuss the COVID differential pay, because in talking to some of you guys, is it accurate to say that when they ask for volunteers Were you guys told that you were going to get extra pay on top of your salaries? Can you just walk us through the history of that?
Please, yeah, absolutely. So let me just go down to like when we actually got the call for volunteers. It was the evening of March 18. We know that the governor had just put out her executive order, which would require mandatory quarantine for the flights from the Philippines at first. Do you remember that? And so it was about 8 in the evening, and we were, the call out was they're looking for 10 volunteers to report to the airport at midnight. And we had no idea exactly what was going to be done. There was no talk of pay at all. As a matter of fact, prior to that, with the government closure, you know, as directors, we were already informed that this is unprecedented. We've never gone through this kind of emergency on the island. So all the different kinds of pays that we were used to in the past with regards to the government employees, like emergencies like typhoon and things like that, it wasn't going to be mirrored after that. So honestly, like, we knew coming into this that the word volunteer didn't necessarily mean that you know, I mean, we knew, and we there was no talk of pay. There was no talk of, well, are we going to get paid to do something this risky? We knew it was risky, but we knew that when we volunteer, what it really meant was that we were volunteering to step up to the task. And regardless of whether or not that meant we were going to get paid any kind of differential pay, which wasn't even talked about until, I don't know, a couple of weeks as far as I know, that wasn't even discussed. That's not why the director stepped up. But let me tell you why it had to be us. Because this is a governor's executive order. We are an extension of the governor. The government just had a government closure. We knew that this virus was still, nobody had it figured out. We knew it was completely risky. We were going to be working with passengers, and based on what the world was going through, we knew that we were going to be putting ourselves at risk. So the volunteers that stepped up volunteered and basically said, we don't have the details. We don't know if we're going to get paid. That's not the goal. That doesn't matter to us. We know that we have to keep the island safe. And so we had volunteers, but the reason why it went from just, you know, being asked for 10 volunteers to now we currently have 28, really it's just because everything just grew bigger. You know, we had 3 quarantine facilities that needed to be manned 24 hours. Our resources were stretched so thin. Even cabinet members were scared. I'm going to be honest. Yeah. Anyone who was told, if you're sick, don't come in. If you have, you know, family members at home that are elderly or young children or those with, you know, current medical conditions, please, you know, just stay home and stay safe. That was the message being sent to the public, right?
Yeah.
So when that call out was made on March 18th, you said, right? For the mandatory a quarantine, was it just for directors or was it for everybody?
It was, well, the only one that Adelup could reach out to is the cabinet. Mm-hmm. I mean, really, like, if you're asking people to, you know, you're asking somebody, like, we don't really know how exactly. We know what the goal is. We know the plan A and we know the plan Z, but there's still all these details that have yet to be put into SOPs or processes because we've never done this before. Right. So of course the governor is going to call on her soldiers.
Mm-hmm. Well, so why not the National Guard though?
Well, I can't really speak to that, but they were eventually activated. But I mean, again, you know, I mean, all I'm going to say is that when we're placed there because like we do know what the mission is, and you're right, the National Guard is now, you know, part of this, and it didn't take too long before they became part of it. But just for that, we have 4 hours. We need people to help us, you know, with the incoming Philippine flight. And so we're going to call on the people that we know will come and help execute this process. And we don't have all the details, but we know that, you know, the people who come out are the ones that are going to be like, just let us know what needs to be done. Because we knew we needed to keep the island safe.
Yeah. I get it, Rebecca, that, you know, you guys were asked to volunteer. People did it. The issue of pay, from what I'm tracking with a couple other directors, is that issue of the COVID differential didn't come up until I'm hearing 6 weeks in, which is only just a little while ago, and then you were told it wasn't going to be retroactive. But I just want to ask, so one of the things we see in so many of the comments regarding this issue is people say, hey, you guys are unclassified political hires. You guys are getting paid. Your management you shouldn't be getting this COVID differential pay. Can we just go into the weeds on that and tell us, do you feel that you guys getting the 15% COVID differential pay is justified, and is there any thought on you guys not accepting it? Just if you could just respond to those.
You know, that's a good question. I mean, I'm just going to tell you that, like, at this point, it is what it is, and it is. I think that it's fair. I mean, we may be who we are in terms of, we are at a cabinet level, and we are in classified. All of that is true. We are appointed individuals at our regular capacities, but this is not our regular capacities. And we want to talk about frontliners, but I want you to know that, like, when, as an example, if there's somebody in our facility that gets tested and is positive, and we do have we have a medical team here, but there is only one lead nurse that is 24/7, and so that person stays. So let me just paint the picture for you. When that nurse goes to get the patient and gets in PPEs, and we bring the patient down because they got to be transported to isolation, you know who's right with the nurse? Us. And so we're at the same place. I mean, all the other frontliners, I cannot even imagine what it's like to actually work like in the isolation facility, because we're in quarantine, and the hospital, and then the medics that are responding to, just hospital workers. I mean, it absolutely doesn't compare to us, right? And we always work hand in hand, but we are those people too.
I'm sorry, Rebecca, but that just sounds so ridiculous that you guys are doing this work and you're not even trained to do this kind of work.
Right. Yeah, you're right. But, that's why we
and why the National Guard isn't in here doing this kind of work when they have professionals that can be doing this.
They are involved. That's
to do security.
Yeah. There is, I know, and I can't answer to that, but
right. Well, let me ask you this, Rebecca. So,
I mean, you're putting
yeah, we get it. You're putting yourself at risk, but just so are you going to accept the pay or not?
I'm going to be honest with you and tell you that for me, I have not done one single timesheet relative to my COVID hours, but again, it's just because that wasn't a priority, but it's not to say that, and I'm just going to say that I just also haven't had time to really track my hours. This has just been so crazy. But we are tracking the hours of those that are assigned to the quarantine facility. And it's only because, we have to, I mean, we can't be irresponsible in not tracking the people that are doing the work.
And now that we're in P-Corps too, Rebecca, and we're starting to see some kind of gradual reopenings of government agencies, do you think that you guys should be pulled away from your duties at the quarantine? And maybe, like Sabrina said, because it kind of seems from what we're hearing from different people that the National Guard could be doing the job that you're doing right now.
Because if you guys are going in and you could be dealing with people that are positive or
even
taking or taking people that eventually have turned out positive. I mean, do you guys have like a decontamination? Because I know that's what they do. Is when their PUIs are brought in over to GMH, they have to decontaminate themselves when they leave. And so, is that something that you guys do? Do you have those protocols in place, or are the staff, these directors and these governor's office employees that are manning that quarantine facility, are they in full PPEs every day?
Well, so our PPEs are really the basic. It's the mask and the gloves, and then if we do come into contact, like I said, when we work hand in hand with the medical, the nurse the nurse is the primary person who handles anything medically related.
Yeah, but it's one nurse and how many directors? I mean, where's the priority?
I mean, Rebecca, because I'm thinking, okay, like I want to be in your shoes.
Yeah.
If I was in your shoes, I would be pretty pissed because I feel like Adelup left you guys out to dry. I think that they did.
I'm hearing.
They hung you guys out to dry, and they were like, oh yeah, they're getting towels for people. That's it. Yeah.
No, I want to say that I feel like it can be thought at in that way, but that's not how we see it. I'll be honest. Like in the beginning, there was just so much uncertainty. Like, okay, so are we going to be the ones handling their luggages or not? And the truth is, at the end of the day, let me just explain. Hotel staff that are still employed here are like there's like a few front desk personnel. Of course, the housekeepers, but the housekeepers are only there to execute the turnaround of the cleaning of the rooms based on the CDC guidelines, which requires us to wait 24 hours. So if there's no positives and they go through their 14-day quarantine, we know that they're healthy, they're back into the community. we do turn that room around to be used again.
Yeah, but isn't there a government contract for cleaning and decontamination and disinfecting, or MOU?
I think that's, for that one, it would be the isolation facility. So for here, and of course for the rooms that did have a positive patient, or a positive passenger, like we do not reissue those rooms at all.
So
in the process, we're closing it off and saying this has to be professionally decontaminated, and so we are not reissuing those rooms. So rest assured that the only rooms that get reissued are those that have a passenger that has completed quarantine, they are safe, no symptoms, and they got their clearance from public health. And so you're right. I mean, there could be a lot of misconceptions about, like, and we were scared too, but let me just tell you something. I had no idea about what it meant to touch somebody's luggage that could potentially be positive, right? But when I have an elderly couple in front of us and they need help with their luggage, you know, like, there's just no second guessing what is the right thing to do versus just being scared, because how are they going to get their luggages to their room?
Right. Yeah.
The hotel staff, what they know, I mean, the actual hotel staff, they just know that they're not supposed to have contact with the passengers. That was whatever was negotiated in, you know, in the process and selection of the hotels. I wasn't a part of that. Again, the people here that are working it, we weren't a part of any of that prior to being called.
Right. And I think that goes back to what Sabrina's saying, is that when you have people like yourselves who see an elderly couple and you just want to help, if you'd had the training, then you would know, like, I shouldn't be doing that. But I want to go back.
What I did,
okay, but
sorry, I was going to just say that, because we were so concerned about that, we actually did call in, or I made arrangements, and I worked with somebody that is on the federal side of EPA who actually came in. It was like 10 o'clock at night at Santa Fe Hotel when we were still there, and he did do a basic brief for us and talked about how to just keep safe, how to make sure that we are keeping safe, how to properly disinfect, and when to change our gloves, even as far as like what is the proper way to throw your gloves away, how to make sure your masks are on correctly. So we did make sure, we took it upon ourselves to make sure that we at least knew how to keep safe and how to not, so like every time we go and do a delivery on the floor, my role and the role that we set up for our little kind of area out in the lobby, which is our working center, we're in the wing of Pacific Star where no passengers have access, you know, so we have to disinfect prior to coming back to our area. Everything. Every time we do a delivery with one of the carts, the protocol is we bring the cart back down, we wipe the whole cart back, you know, and disinfect it, then we disinfect ourselves before we go back into our working space.
Rebecca had a comment here that, did you say you were going to accept the differential pay or not? It wasn't clear.
Hey, that's a tricky question.
Yeah.
You know, all I can say right now is, like, I haven't turned in a timesheet. I've been too busy to think about the pay. And a lot of us are like that. So.
Right. Well, some of the ones I talked to said that it's not enough for what they're doing.
What's not enough?
The COVID differential pay.
It should be 25% as opposed to the
I want to
15?
read this, Rebecca. This is a letter that someone has sent me from, and I want to be careful to not reveal who the director is, but it's the director of a non-essential agency. We all came into this administration accepting the expectations. Like everything else we end up doing over and beyond our jobs, we never expected any additional pay. It would have been great if more of the cabinet came out to help. All of us who are essential employees or are deemed non-essential and help with the quarantines or have been helping with everything else regarding the health and the economy have been and continue to work these long hours. Yes, my agency has been deemed non-essential, so I do the quarantine assignments. That doesn't spare me from work that I still have to do for my agency. All of us department directors still need to do our regular work at our various agencies. It's harder on those of us who do COVID-19 work as well. Not everyone understands what we go through to keep Guam safe. Now that a decision has been made that we will be given differential pay, all hell breaks loose with the media. We are not even recognized frontliners. Not only days, but also time are all a blur for me, going back to work in a few hours.
But they still show up, right? I mean, we have an amazing group, and I couldn't agree more. And it's easy, you know, it's easy for us under, you know, being frustration and not having good sleep since March 18. I want to just let you all know that we did do a call out, and we knew that there were still agencies that were 100% operational, the essential agencies. So we obviously couldn't tap every single director, but we did have some cabinet members that, you know, I mean, really, we didn't want them working if they had any recent travel. We wanted them to self-quarantine first before they came out. We wanted to make sure that if they were sick or they have any, just like everybody else, we're all human. We all have, you know, some of us have pre-existing medical conditions where it would be riskier for them. You know, so we did a call out, and you're right, all those cabinet members that are working this were in non-essential agencies, so that it didn't directly, you know, put any kind of risk for the agencies that they had to run. So for those of us that were non-essential, yeah, we're the ones working here. We do still have a responsibility to make sure that our agency is still functioning in terms of like the back end of it, you know.
Right.
So we did have multiple responsibilities, and we are burning out, just like everybody else that is helping keep our island safe.
But I think the flip side of this, though, where some people are concerned and seeing it as just a little bit sketchy, is the fact that you do have essential employees that are supposedly pulling a shift here, like the Department of Youth Affairs Director, the Department of Youth Affairs Deputy Director, the Guam International Airport Deputy Executive Manager, and the Department of Labor. They are dealing with the PUA and the FPUC, and the deputy is pulling a shift. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, absolutely. And I have like responses for all of that. So these are just cabinet members that, so like with DYA, even though they are a 24-hour facility, it was really the facility side that stayed fully operational. So for the director and the deputy, they did come out and they just said, you know, I'd be able to juggle both because, of course, I mean, the director of the Department of Youth Affairs is not the youth correctional officer that is standing shift inside the dorms, right? So she makes herself available when, you know, and she takes a part of the shift that helps us to just be able to get some rest. And so, you know, they are doing their part. And again, it was just, we couldn't just say you have to. And, you know, for Lonnie Brennan and Christinda, again, who are helping us in this process, they figured out their schedule where they could go into the office on the time that they're not here, and then they come and they spend a few hours here. And again, it's not pay related at all. Like, they were just like, you know, I can help, I can manage it. You guys need the help, so let's do this. And you know, Christinda's role in this process is slightly different because she doesn't come to the quarantine, but she's there at the airport for every flight. And what has to happen there is like, so they do an incoming process. We develop a system where they talk to the passengers. They say, how many people in your family? Okay, do you have any allergies, any meal restrictions, any dietary restrictions, anything the nurses need to be aware of prior to you getting to the quarantine facility? All that information comes down with the passenger. We're the receiving end, so that when their luggages come, we line their luggages up in the lobby. We get them checked in. We give them a room number.
So the executive manager of the airport couldn't just stay at the airport? He had to do a shift at the quarantine facility?
Well, so he does, but the thing about it is, like, so he also is very involved in the processes of who actually.
We're talking about JQ, right, Rebecca?
Yeah, we're now switching.
Okay, so let me ask you.
Me about him.
Right. Let me ask you about that, because when I asked Carlo Branch about JQ, he said that he couldn't comment as to why he was at the quarantine facility because of HIPAA concerns. So what was that? Just a distraction, or is that what's the deal with that?
Well, you know, I mean, pretty much that's been covered in the media for, you know, so if there's any other questions regarding him, I mean, what I can say on my part is that he is very frontline, and he is very involved in this.
But I'm just saying,
he's not just sitting in his office. He's at every single flight, making sure that the people who, like, because there are people who don't have to come to quarantine, so he works like really parallel to public health at the airport, and he actually takes a look at all the documents and just makes sure that, you know, that it is legal, that it is legit, that if they don't have to come to quarantine because their COVID test read negative within 72 hours of them arriving on Guam. So whatever needs to be executed in terms of the mandate, he's very frontline and just at the forefront of all passengers that are incoming.
Oh, yeah, he's military trained.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we just weren't clear because when we asked the policy director, Carlo Branch, he had said that he couldn't comment because of HIPAA. So then we assumed that, oh, is he there like in quarantine or is he working? So he's working.
Both, yeah.
Both.
Yeah.
Okay, I see.
So, but you know, he's not here anymore.
Right.
I could tell you that. Yeah.
Okay.
So, So yeah.
What did you make? Because I wanted to ask you about this because we kind of did all the media did the story about you and Alice. I mean,
Yeah.
you guys are a couple and you're working there, staying at the hotel, and the takeaway was a lot of people just went in on you guys and said, "Oh, it's a staycation, it's a."
No.
And so, how did you? I mean, obviously, I'm pretty sure you felt attacked.
Yeah, absolutely. But you know what? It comes with the territory, right? But I am human, and it was such an emotional process because it's like, okay, we can't be distracted. And like reading, can you imagine like the moment that I read the article because somebody flags me down like, hey, you're all over Candid News. I'm in the middle of processing, like, you know, I can't even remember how many passengers in the lobby of Pacific Star, and it's like I have to change my brain to like, okay, you know, right now.
Put on your game face.
Yeah, and it was hard because even when, you know, the images came out from Kenley and Guerrero where we're like pigs, I mean, I actually looked at the passengers and I was just like, oh my God, I think that they're looking at me through their mask and all they're seeing is like, oh, that's a pig girl. So there is so much emotional attachment, you know, to everything that's being said. But I'm just going to tell you right now that like we take deep breaths. We pray a lot. Honestly, Alice and I pray a lot with our team. And we're like, guys, do not distract. Do not distract from the mission. We're keeping the island safe. That is all that matters. And the truth will reveal itself. I appreciate this opportunity to be telling you exactly what we're doing and why it's
We do
us.
too. But can we just go to the technical stuff?
Yeah.
So how many people are being quarantined as we speak at Pacific Star?
Yeah, so our current passenger PAX is 234, occupying 184 rooms.
234 and 184 families.
Yeah, so the last time that this, like, and it always fluctuates, 234 passengers in 184 rooms here at the PAX Star. And so I know that the last article that came out said that we're servicing 140 people because that was the PAX when the article came.
Yeah, we get that it changes with the flights.
It changes every day. So now we're at 234 and I'm in a few, like in about the Saipan flight this morning arrived at 9:55, so I don't even know how many more we're going to get.
Right.
And there's a whole process. So a flight comes in, and it's not just they come in and they go into a room. I mean, we're doing meal arrangements. We're making sure that there's no allergies. You know, everything. It's such an intricate and detailed process that we can't screw up. So everything that's happening in the media, I just tell the team, don't read any of the comments, please. But it's hard not to read it, right?
But at the same time, you understand that people can have their opinion about this, and, you know, I mean.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, social media kind of builds that platform for people to be able to express themselves, and it's hard to read some of the things, but I just want the community to know that, like, we're not being distracted. Our goal is to keep the community safe, and, like, you know, as far as us being high-ranking cabinet officials, just, you know, please understand, like, this is an executive order from the governor. We are her soldiers. At 4 hours before we were told to report to the airport, it really was like we didn't know completely what we were getting ourselves into. We just knew it was important. All we knew.
I would have been like, hey, wait a second, what is this about?
Yeah.
Where am I going?
I did. And, you know, it's like, you know, it's no strange, you know, it's not a strange fact that Rory is my brother.
Right.
And because of his years and years of an institutional knowledge, I do always defer to him. And honestly, I did message him. And I said, what do you think? Like, my mom, you know, it's like I live with my mom. And so I'm just like, I don't want to put my mom at risk. But all he said was, you should do it. And later on, I asked him why. And he said, because you have the talent to do it. And you can do it. And you can get it done. And look what's happening now. You were put in charge. And so, like, even with this whole thing, I'm like, hey, Will, how did you develop the thick skin of being attacked? And he's like, you just have to stay focused.
Well, you got to keep getting attacked, too. That's what develops the causes.
For real, right? Fire with fire.
Hey, first time it's like, by the 10th time we're attacking you, you're like, oh, whatever, haters.
Yeah.
All right, so.
And it is from the same people, so. Yeah. But, you know, I'm going to just say it gets balanced out. It gets balanced out because we've also got messages of, you know, people saying, don't pay attention, do not get distracted. We appreciate everything that you guys are doing. Even the passengers. We get called down, like we can get one call saying, lunch really sucked, you know, and like they're going off on us like I was in the kitchen cooking their lunch and it's not me, but I just take a deep breath. And then we get 3 calls after that from passengers saying, you know, thank you so much. You know, you guys really don't have to be doing this, but lunch was good and we really appreciate it. So there is a real clear balance. And you know, there's people who want to leave here, and then there's people who want to stay because they know that after 14 days, they could reunite with their family virus-free.
Right
Does that
on.
make sense? So
Yeah, it does.
we're not losing our focus, and I don't know how long this is really going to be going on for, but yeah, you know, so the decision to stay here didn't come right away. I'm just going to say that, you know, we were talking, Alice and I were talking, and we were constantly like, man, this is getting harder. It's getting harder to be done with everything at 2:30 in the morning and then have to come back at 4 in the morning. And then one night, the nurse that has been staying here, you know, one morning I came in and I was like, hey, what's going on? Why do you look like that? Like, she just looks like she hasn't slept all night. And I'm thinking there was medical emergencies, and her response was, front desk keeps calling me because passengers need things. And so that's when I went to front desk and I said, please, she's our 24-hour medical staff, unless it's medically related, please don't call her in the middle of the night for toilet paper. Please don't call her because the air conditioning is down. Please don't call our nurse because the faucet is leaking.
Yeah. Rebecca, we are just like really against the end of the show, but I wanted to thank you for calling in and giving us
Rebecca.
Your 2 cents.
I appreciate the opportunity,
of
and
course.
thank you also for your coverage and for continuing to try to, you know, just get the truth out and help us.
One way or another, we're going to get that truth out.
Yeah, I
Thanks.
appreciate that.
Okay, wash your hands.
Be
Okay.
safe. Okay.
Right on.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye. 9:58. Okay. What do you guys think of that? Sabrina over here. You know what I love about you is
What?
I can tell what you're thinking by looking at your face.
You know, she's
Even in the
they're
mask.
doing their work over there.
Right.
Should they be doing that work over there? Hell
No,
no.
they shouldn't, yeah.
They don't have the experience to be doing that. That just makes no sense.
Right, yeah. And when you know
Holy
that,
moly.
when you know that, I mean, it kind of makes it seem like it's just the whole thing is just not justified. But again,
Even the fact that you have DYA director, DYA deputy director, even if you're not the one standing guard, making sure nobody's getting out or getting in, you are still the freaking director and the deputy director. Do you know? Maybe I'm just not seeing it.
No,
you know, the Guam International Airport Authority deputy executive manager working quarantine.
yeah, it is definitely a bit much, I think. And the whole thing has kind of been tainted by a lot. And man, I didn't even get to ask her about Tony Babalta. I mean, if anybody knows about Tony Babalta and what was going on,
yeah,
it sounds like she keeps track of things.
No, but for real though, the people that are working out at doing this work because they're soldiers, which I would disagree with. Wouldn't use those words.
Yeah, but what are they going to say? I mean, they feel like they're doing the work.
Yeah, but I mean, real soldiers probably would be like, you are not a soldier.
Or do you think they're real frontliners, Bree?
Well, doing what they're doing when they shouldn't be really doing that. You know, it's if you're not trained to do that, I just don't think it's right to put them in that kind of harm.
Right.
You know,
And
even if they were voluntold.
I also think that there should be less political distancing from Adelup about these guys. I mean, that we had to go reach out to her.
The National Guard.
Yeah.
What we were going to be like, no, wait till we get the federal approval to pay for it 100%, you know.
Right, yeah, I don't know.
And that came on April 2nd, you know. No, let our people do the work, and then when the president says, good to go, we're going to pay you guys 100%.
I wonder, though.
That's when you can...
Because with the P-Corps 2, a lot of these directors, deputy directors, from what the lieutenant governor was saying, was their agencies are going to be opening up. So when does it become a point of them being somewhere, getting paid and compensated for doing things that they're not trained to do, not even supposed to be doing? When are they going to leave? And then I agree, well, let's put in the National Guard.
Department of Labor Deputy Director.
Yeah, it's just hey, but you know what? I give her credit for calling in.
No, yes, but I'm just like the list. It's like Department of Labor Deputy Director.
It is what it is,
we
guys.
have like PUA and FPOC?
Yeah, right. We do. 10:01. You know, a little bit over, but I want to end this show on a good note, okay? Because that's the kind of man I am.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
So I want to bring on my friend Lonnie from the Giving Tree. Good morning, Lonnie.
Good morning, Chris. Hi,
Sabrina.
I just wanted to bring you guys on. Joe, I gave you the pictures from yesterday. You guys were out on Mother's Day yesterday at Fizz & Co. doing a donation drive It's emergency food drive, but I understand you're also accepting other things, and this is going to run throughout this week. So, Lonnie, thank you so much for what you're doing, but let's get the info out there and how people can come and donate this week.
Okay, so we are hosting a food drive, the Giving Tree in Fizz & Co. Our drop-off site will be at Fizz & Co. and we'll be there all this week till Saturday from 12 to 5 o'clock. We're accepting non-perishable food items, personal hygiene products, feminine products, and we're also accepting baby food, formulas, diapers, wipes. We are accepting these things, and all the items will be donated to Catholic Social Services to assist the families that need it most, that were affected by this pandemic, people that were out of jobs or their hours got cut. So we're just trying to help people that are in need. So if you can, we just want everybody to know that if they want to donate or they have the means to donate, we'll be there 12 to 5 all week.
What was the reaction like yesterday? Because I know you called me and you're like, hey, we're out here on Mother's Day. Did you get a lot of people coming through on Mother's Day?
We did. Fortunately, we do have people that were coming in and giving donations, and it was really nice because they were also mothers too. And I was saying, I hope it didn't interrupt with your celebration. They said, no, this is what we want to do, and it's kind of the mother thing to do. You see people or families in need, and you want to give. So we've been putting it out there on our social media platforms and everything, and we have people from the community, even coming from Santa Rita, coming from Chico, and they're dropping off everything from diapers to food. So we did get some people or a couple of families come out and donate even yesterday on Mother's Day. So
that's awesome.
So we just kind of want to get it out there to let everyone know. I know on Facebook, and people are reaching out to elected officials, letting them know that they need some kind of assistance, and there's pretty much no financial support given in a timely manner right now. And there are a lot of families out there that that not normally need these assistances, but given the situation that we're in, they kind of need some food or need some kind of assistance to make their ends meet. So we did contact Catholic Social Services, and we asked them if there was a need, and they said, oh yes, there's hundreds of families that are actually contacting them since the lockdown or since businesses had shut down, and they were even asking us that if we could extend the food drive to accept personal hygiene and feminine products and even baby food. So that's when I contacted Leanne Crisosimo at Fizz & Co, and I said, let's do this, let's host a food drive, let's have a drop-off site at your place. And she's all for helping the community and giving back to the community. So we decided to do it, and so we're going to be doing this till Saturday.
Well, Lonnie, we just want to give you guys a big hand. You, the Giving Tree, I love you guys, and Fizz & Co. You guys are COVID heroes.
Woo! Thank you.
All right. So
thank you. But so just anyone that can donate, please come out. We'll be there, and let's all come together, Guam. I know that during hard times, Guam has an amazing way of coming together and helping those who are in need. So just hope that we see more families out there giving if they can. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Lonnie. Of course.
Thank you.
Anytime.
Take care.
All right. Wash your hands.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye. 10:05. Well, that's it, Pansit. Good job today, Sabrina.
Good job.
Remember, we take all those videos and we post them up on. I'm just awesome. We take all the videos, including that one from Rebecca. I wanted to get her on earlier, but obviously they were doing a lot of things over there. So it is what it is. If you guys want to take that and share it around, again, the show. Thank you guys so much for watching on our KUAM News Facebook Live feed. Of course, we stream it also on KUAM.com and the KUAM News app. KUAM TV 11. Thank you guys so much for watching. And there's also an audio stream on Docomo Channel 10. Okay, Bree.
I'm a dork, sorry.
Yeah, I know. There's a whole lot of dork in the studio right now. Thank you guys, though, for your kind words, comments, questions, concerns, and especially the compliments. Keep those coming. Hey.
He likes him a lot.
For Sabrina, Solace Matanani, Jason, Solace, Joe Sir, behind the scenes.
B is here.
B is here also. My name is Chris. Esta and Joe.
Bye.